At this time, Mustache's thugs stopped attacking. Lin Xingnan, who barely stood up, saw Mustache, who was arrogant and domineering just a second ago, kneeling in front of Lin Yu. His eyes widened and he was in disbelief. Lin Shiyan, who was half lying on the ground, was so shocked by the reversal in front of him that he almost started chattering mode again. It seemed that what his parents and sisters said was right. Lin Yu had indeed made some shady people outside. However, these unscrupulous people seemed to be a little too powerful. Mustache dare not take the Lin family seriously. It's no wonder that the Lin family is very budget-minded and has assets of less than 50 billion. As for Dingqing Group, not counting the many properties for sale, it has nearly 100 billion on its books, so Dingqing Group has the right to look down on the Lin family. On the contrary, the Lin family has to go up to the pole to beg Dingqing Group to get a piece of the pie for itself. However, as soon as this man named Tang Xin appeared, the awesome Dingqing Group immediately turned into Sun Tzu. In front of Lin Yu, Tang Xin was more than enough like a son, even if he didn't look like a grandson. Even if Lin Yu doesn't learn well and just messes around in society, he is still very awesome if he can mess around like this. Mustache had a die-hard subordinate who saw his boss kneeling shamelessly in front of a high school student and wondered, "Boss, where does this grandson come from? Isn't he just a small character who was beaten all over the floor by us? As for being so low-key?" At this moment, Mustache wanted to immediately strangle the weak-sided subordinate in front of him. This high school student has nothing but a little resistance. But what kind of existence is the way of the fox? My subordinate has never seen it. Has he never heard of it? That is the existence at the top of the underworld food chain. Dingqing Group has to pay millions of membership fees every year in order to operate with peace of mind, and Tang Xin is one of the 4 red sticks of Fox Road and an expert in dealing with debts. This kind of person, when seeing Lin Yu, is like seeing his father. You are a brainless thug. If you want to die, you can just find a building and jump off. Why bother dragging me along? Tang Xin looked at this stunned subordinate, and his originally serious face suddenly showed a smile. Tang Xin smiled. Life or death was unpredictable. This is something that all the bosses in the underworld know. Mustache was almost scared to death, so he immediately sold the subordinate and said quickly, "The company is short of manpower recently. I hired this person from the roadside for 500 yuan. He is an extra and he was originally a bricklayer. Since you are unkind, you can't blame me for being unjust." The subordinate was stunned by his boss's words and shouted, "Boss, I have been with you for more than 10 years. Shut up!" Mustache said angrily. "You said you have been with me for more than 10 years, then tell me, which hand do I use to hold my penis when I pee?" "I don't know." "You don't even know this. How dare you say you've known me for more than 10 years? Get lost." He turned to Tang Xin and said, "I really don't know this kid. You can figure it out yourself." The subordinate looked at his boss with shocked eyes. Also shocked were Fatty and Li Ruochen in the distance. What happened in this one night exceeded the sum of what the two of them had experienced in the first half of their lives. The fat man was very happy and thought to himself, "Fortunately, I have not offended my desk mate in the past few years. I also buy him breakfast every now and then and raise money for him to buy clothes. At first I thought he was pitiful. He only had one piece of clothing no matter winter or summer. He must be an orphan. I didn't expect that he turned out to be a hidden boss." Li Ruochen had a look of shock on her face. When Lin Yu solved the physics problem, she was already surprised. She thought he had discovered a treasure by opening the blind box. When he was in jail and was rescued by Lin Yuhan without fear of death and wiped away his tears, he already liked the boy in front of him who combined gentleness and violence so much that he didn't care about his own life. Even if Lin Yu slept with him on the spot, he would be willing to do so. But this blind box gave me far more surprises than that. He turned out to be a child of the Lin family, a child of the Lin family with tens of billions of assets. Although his sisters and even family members don't like him very much, these family members will definitely regret it in the future. Lin Xingnan's eyes were full of disbelief, and he had forgotten his mission. I am a policeman and I want to bring these people before me to justice. Lin Shuyan had a look of complaint. Since you know such awesome people, why didn't you call them over earlier and let yourself suffer this kind of injustice? Lin Yu glanced at Tang Xin, who was smiling. He had no intention of playing violent games with these gangsters. Lin Yu turned around, walked quickly to Li Ruochen, took Li Ruochen's hand, walked to Mustache, pointed at Li Ruochen and said to Mustache, "This is my classmate. Her name is Li Ruochen. Do you know her?" Mustache was stunned. He didn't know what kind of medicine Lin Yu was selling in his gourd. After carefully looking at the girl in front of him, he thought hard and determined that he didn't recognize her. There is nothing special about this girl except that she is pretty, pure, and has a good figure. I have played with a lot of high school girls, but that's because I didn't go to high school, so I make up for whatever I lack. But I paid for it, and the student in front of me has never played before. Mustache knew very well that at this time, if he said the wrong thing, he would immediately fall into a desperate situation. He did not dare to speak and tried. "Should I know him or not? You can't remember, right?" Lin Yu took over the conversation and said, "A week ago, when school was over, you and a few of your men attacked my classmate and threatened her, saying that you would do something to her in the future. Remember, come on." Mustache immediately showed an expression of realization. "Yes, I think about it, I deserve to die. I was obsessed with lust and did something that was outrageous to both humans and gods. Little girl, no. My aunt, please hit me." Mustache's subordinate, still desperate, said, "Boss, last week, we were dispatched to Southeast Asia. We were there for a week, and you forgot so quickly? Where do you have time to tease this girl?" Mustache suddenly stood up, slapped his subordinate on the face, and said angrily, "Get out!" The subordinate was stunned by this slap and muttered, "I'm not wrong." Li Ruochen was also confused. She had never heard of such naked porcelain, let alone done it now. The target of the affair is still a gangster, which is very fantasy. After beating his men, Mustache turned to Lin Yu, nodded and bowed. "Brother Lin, do you think it's money or people? It's your choice. I have an old man above me and a young man below me." Lin Yu interrupted Xiaozhu's misfortune and said to Xiao, "You should apologize to my classmate now and promise not to target her in the future." Mustache never dreamed that this matter was raised so high but fell so lightly. He was almost moved to tears and hurried forward to hold Li Ruochen's hand. Li Ruochen withdrew his hand with a look of disgust, and said awkwardly with a mustache, "Little girl, I deserve to die. I'm not a human being. I apologize to you." After I finished speaking, I felt that there was no sense of ceremony in saying an apology like this, so I immediately greeted all my subordinates. "You kneel down and apologize to this little ant. Anyone who is insincere will be fired directly. Without the company's protection, you have done so many evil things, and you don't even know how you died." After saying that, the leader knelt down to Li Ruochen. As Mustache knelt down, a dark mass fell on his knees behind him. Li Ruochen looked at the tall man kneeling in front of him, and suddenly felt like the Queen Mother was coming to court. "Pingxin." After Li Ruochen said this, he immediately felt something was wrong and said quickly, "Everyone, please get up. I forgive you. Thank you for your forgiveness, girl. I wish you a long life, a promotion and a raise in salary, and a son soon." The leader with a mustache shouted. Next, more than 50 subordinates behind him shouted to Li Ruochen, "I wish the girl a long life, a promotion and a salary increase, and a son soon." The momentum is huge. Li Ruochen blushed with embarrassment. He didn't even have a boyfriend, so how could he have a baby? With whom? When Lin Yu saw Xiao Hu and others apologizing, he took Li Ruochen's hand and turned to leave. Before leaving, he said to Tang Xin, "Thank you, Mr. Tang, I owe you once. In the future, you can ask me to do something for you that I can do. Remember, it's only this once. Change it once and for all, it's fair." After that, he left without looking back. After Tang Xin heard Lin Yu's words, his heart beat wildly. If the high school student in front of me is really a person of that level, then their promise is priceless. It's like having an extra layer of protection and an extra life. Just when he was about to walk out of the coverage area of the radio signal shielding vehicle, Lin Yu raised his head and glanced at the glass display window of a wonton shop in the distance. The super perception in his body has not yet cooled down, and he can feel the eyes full of hatred towards him behind the window 100 meters away. He couldn't be more familiar with that person. In fact, Lin Tianyang had arrived long ago, even earlier than Lin Yu. It's not that he expected something big to happen here today, but he happened to be celebrating his girlfriend's birthday nearby. There are many luxury goods stores on this street. Lin Tianyang bought a lot of gifts for his girlfriend, worth more than 1 million. He wanted to buy this girlfriend tonight, but he encountered an explosion. Then I met Lin Shiyan and Lin Xingnan. Originally, after seeing Lin Shiyan, he wanted to meet Lin Shiyan, but after seeing Lin Xingnan, he changed his mind. This very rational fourth sister seemed to have seen through him, and he was instinctively afraid of Lin Xingnan. Then, he saw Mustache leading someone over and beating his two sisters wildly. When he saw Lin Shiyan being humiliated, he also wanted to step forward to save him, but he didn't dare. That was a force that even Lin Yuan, his cheat father, was afraid of. If he went up there, he would just add some appetizers to others. Then he saw Lin Yu. Seeing Lin Yu rushing into the crowd without fear of death, I was deeply shocked by Lin Yu's courage. Just when he thought that Lin Yu was bound to die, things took a turn and another group of people came. This group of people was even more ruthless, and even the people from the Dingqing group didn't look down on him. This group of people actually bowed their heads in front of Lin Yu. Is this the same Lin Yu who has been bullied, framed, and PUA'd countless times but doesn't dare to say anything or resist? He thought again of Lin Yu's decisive look when he left home the day before yesterday, his confidence, his eyes that saw everything, and the words he said to himself before leaving. Lin Tianyang was scared. He actually knows everything. He didn't even care about the Lin family's wealth and status. He actually let go of the so-called family relationship he had had in the past 4 years. A person who gives up everything is the most powerful person. This kind of person has nothing in the world that can bind him. Does he really have nothing to care about? He has. He still has his half-dead master, his younger brother and sister who are his lifeblood, and the girl next to him who may become his ally in the future. Then I will let you fall into the web I weave again. Lin Yu. You can always be a stepping stone for me, Lin Tianyang. From the moment you were born, you were marked as a wedding dress. This is your mission and you cannot escape it. Feeling Lin Yu's gaze, Li Ruochen looked where Lin Yu was looking, but she didn't see anything. Her vision couldn't reach that far. What did you see? Li Ruochen asked. Just a dog. Lin Yu replied coldly. As if feeling Lin Yu's cold gaze, Lin Tianyang couldn't help but tremble. This damn oppressive feeling. Lin Yu turned to Fatty and said, Fatty, let's go. Lin Yu left behind a bunch of people and turned around to leave, leaving behind a confused Mustache, Tang Sen, Lin Shiyan, and Lin Xingnan. After Lin Shiyan saw Lin Yu leaving, he shouted loudly, Lin Yu, what will we do if you leave? It's none of my business. Lin Yu didn't even look back. Lin Xingnan looked at his brother who was walking away with a complicated expression. Mustache approached Tang Sen and asked cautiously, What is the origin of this young man? Ha ha! Tang Sen said lightly. You can't think about it, you can't say it, and you can't defend it. It's someone you can't afford to mess with anyway. Mustache looked annoyed and said, Then what should I do now? Tang Sen gently patted Mustache's face and said, It depends on your life. After saying that, he walked towards Lin Xingnan, who was beaten all over with bruises, with a meaningful look on his face. This beautiful woman, and that young man just now, who are you? Tang Sen had long seen that Lin Yu's target was not Mustache at all. It's even more impossible to come here to have a chat with Mustache because of his idle time. He must be here for the two women in front of him. But judging from his attitude towards the two women, it is very intriguing. Therefore, Tang Sen was curious. He also wanted to clear up the minds. From now on, he could not mess with anyone Lin Yu cared about. Lin Xingnan calmed down his breathing and replied, "It's my brother, what's wrong?" Tang Xin glanced at Lin Shiyan in the distance and asked, "Who is that again?" "My second sister. I advise you not to have any ideas about her." Tang Xin shook his head and smiled. "I'm not interested in a woman with terminal cancer, let alone a mentally retarded person with level 3 brain retardation. I'm even less interested." After saying that, he led his men and roared away, and more than 20 Hummers started together with an astonishing momentum. After hearing what Tang Xin said, Mustache felt a chill in his heart. He remembered that he had knocked down Lin Yu several times just now, and his men beat Lin Yu for more than 10 minutes. How could this hatred be resolved with just an apology? Mustache quickly caught up with Lin Yu, who was walking away, and said with a sad face, "Master Lin, I know, what happened today is indeed a bit impulsive, but you think I'm old. What do you want to do again?" Lin Yu said impatiently. "We have made peace between the two of us, and you have apologized. I don't owe you anything. Haven't you beaten me enough? Then please do it." Mustache was almost frightened to tears, and he quickly said, "My lord, let alone beating me, you are standing on my head to pee. If I shake you, I am not a human being." "Are you short of money?" Mustache said eagerly. "I'll give you 1 million, just to calm your nerves." "What, you set me up instead?" Lin Yu said with disdain. "I took your money and turned it into extortion. Do you want me to go to jail?" Mustache was startled and said hurriedly, "That's not what I meant. How about this? I'll do something for you. Do you have any enemies? I'll help you get him." Lin Yu finally understood Mustache's brain circuit. This kid was afraid of being settled by his future wife. After thinking about it, he pointed to the wonton shop in the distance and said to Mustache, "Soon there will be a boy about the same age as me, about 1.8 meters tall, with thin lips, wearing a brand name, and followed by a beautiful girl, who will rush over from there. He will definitely shout while walking, 'Sister, I'm here to save you.' Catch him, don't let him get close to those two mentally retarded women, and give him a good beating. As for the extent of the beating, it should be basically equivalent to the extent you just beat me." Mustache was shocked and said resolutely, "I understand, that pretty boy must have stolen your woman. Don't worry, I will arrange everything properly." Lin Yu was too lazy to talk nonsense with this fool. He raised his head and glanced at Lin Xingnan in the distance, and the thugs who were still eyeing Lin Xingnan. He suggested, "That subordinate of yours doesn't seem to be clever. If you lead such a person, sooner or later you will kill him." "Kill yourself?" Mustache felt the same and nodded. "I think so. After tonight, I will drown him in the ditch on the road." Lin Yu smiled calmly and said, "No. This kind of people also have their uses. For example, what happened today, you even beat up the police. I don't know how strong your background is. If your background is not strong enough, you still need someone to take the blame." Mustache suddenly realized. He bent down and bowed to Lin Yu, with a sincere look on his face. "Thank you, sir, for your advice, or you can come to our Ding City, and I will be your deputy, with an annual salary starting at 1 million, think about it." Lin Yu shook his head, patted Mustache's shoulder, said nothing, pulled Li Ruochen, and led the fat man away. With respectful eyes, Lin Yu and the others slowly disappeared into the darkness. Mustache looked at the wonton shop in the distance, but saw no one. Within a minute, a young man about 1.8 meters tall rushed out from a distance. With a look of anxiety and concern on his face, the young man ran towards this side and shouted loudly, "Second sister, fourth sister, I'm here to save you." Almost exactly what Lin Yu said. Lin Yu immediately rose to the status of a god in Mustache's heart. Seeing Lin Tianyang running towards him, Lin Shiyan looked relieved. At the critical moment, our Tianyang is still reliable. That damn Lin Yu actually left the two of us here. We must talk to our parents properly when we go back this time. Give him a good lesson. Lin Xingnan frowned when he saw Lin Tianyang running towards him, and immediately understood what was going on. As expected, this guy is just a silver coin, and he's almost washing the pot. Are you rushing here to clear the place? Do you think you are a policeman? Mustache saw that Lin Tianyang was followed by a girl who was cute, overdressed, and covered in jewels. Looking at her age, she looked like a high school student. Mustache took a step forward without saying a word and knocked down Lin Tianyang with one punch. He said fiercely, "You are so brave that you dare to save people under me? Do you think you are Captain America? This is not the place for you to show off." Mustache couldn't hit Lin Yu, but the damage it dealt to Lin Tianyang immediately increased to a critical hit. One of Lin Tianyang's teeth was knocked out, and spittle mixed with blood sprayed all over the floor. This punch was just an appetizer. Mustache stepped on Lin Tianyang's neck, reminding Lin Tianyang of an English sentence, "I can't breathe." At this time, Lin Tianyang felt extremely aggrieved. He saw Lin Yu taking care of everything before rushing out to pick up the fallen peaches. But why do these people still do it to themselves without respecting martial ethics? Shouldn't I give myself up to save face and let myself save people? Mustache kicked Lin Tianyang into the middle of the thugs, waved his hand and said, "Hit me." Those thugs, who were idle, heard the boss's order and immediately raised their sticks and hit Lin Tianyang hard. The girls who followed Lin Tianyang originally wanted to create a unique atmosphere to meet their parents, but in front of them, the person they admired was beaten into a dog, and they were stunned. Lin Tianyang was beaten until he howled like a slaughtered pig. When Lin Shiyan heard Lin Tianyang's miserable howl, she was very heartbroken and burst into tears. She sighed secretly. "Tianyang, sister, I'm sorry for you. It was you who saved me last time, and it's you again this time. You are really my sister's protector." Seeing her protector being beaten until he lost control of his bowels and urine, he peed all over his pants, and a stench spread from the crowd to everyone's nostrils. Lin Xingnan's expression remained as usual. Where did this go? The beating Lin Yu received just now was 10 times more severe than this. Why didn't he scream like you? Cartilage is cartilage. What Lin Xingnan hates most is soft bones. Lin Shiyan watched his dear brother being beaten into a grandson, and cried to Lin Xingnan, "Xingnan, please save Tianyang quickly, he is so good, so thin, and so small, he will be beaten to death by them." Lin Xingnan spat hard and said, "I'm still waiting for someone to rescue me. How dare I go to Liangshan without 3 points and 3 points? Is he young? Is he thin? When Lin Yu was beaten just now, why didn't you let me save Lin Yu? Lin Yu is stronger than him? Bigger than him?" After hearing Lin Xingnan's words, Lin Shiyan opened her eyes in disbelief and said dissatisfied, "For sister, what are you talking about? Tianyang is our younger brother. He risked his life to save us. If you're not grateful, why are you adding insult to injury?" Instead of helping, Lin Xingnan sat aside and began to sort out the broken clothes, ignoring Lin Shiyan's clamor. Lin Shiyan's heart was almost broken. Mustache pinched his watch to check the time. It must not be shorter than the time it took to beat Lin Yu. Lin Yu was beaten for about 18 minutes, so let's beat this pretty boy for 20 minutes. The extra 2 minutes will be considered as extra time. 20 minutes later, Lin Tianyang was beaten into a puddle of mud, his fair face was swollen into buns, and both eyes were swollen into slits. The lips also turned into 2 sausage mouths. Also lost a tooth. The hundreds of thousands of clothes on his body have been crumpled into a ball. The shoes were nowhere to be found, and one of the toes seemed to be broken and could not be straightened. There was a pile of filth in his pants. After the thugs stopped, they all hid far away. The hair that had just been done was also torn into bald spots. Lin Tianyang has developed emergency phobia. The beating stopped, and he still huddled up, tightly protecting his pretty face that he spent an unknown amount of money on maintaining. While crying, she muttered, "Don't hit me, I'll give you money. Our Lin family has plenty of money. If it doesn't work, I'll give you my sister, and you can do whatever you want." Lin Shiyan was far away and didn't hear it. Her heart was still bleeding for her dear brother. Lin Xingnan heard this, glanced at the stunned Lin Tianyang, looked disdainful, and secretly cursed. Coward! Mustache didn't expect this pretty boy to be so irresistible to beatings. With such a bearish attitude, he still dared to steal a woman from Lin Yu? Who gave him the courage? Liang Jingru? There is no harm without comparison. When Lin Yu was beaten, he remained silent, as if he were hammering in iron. The harder he was beaten, the harder he got. And this grandson is like a pig's urine bubble, full of dirty water when touched. The mustache followed Lin Xingnan and spat, cursing. Coward! When Lin Xingnan heard Mustache scolding Lin Tianyang, he looked up at Mustache and said righteously, "You are suspected of murder, gathering a crowd to fight, and assaulting the police. I want to arrest you now." No matter how clumsy Mustache was, he could still see that the two women in front of him had an unusual relationship with Lin Yu, so they dared to make mistakes. Mustache pulled the subordinate and said with the same righteousness, "Zhang Jun, you are suspected of murder, gathering a crowd to fight, and assaulting the police, and you still haven't pleaded guilty?" The police arrived nearly 40 minutes after the explosion, along with the fire department and 120 emergency personnel. There is no way, for such a big matter, the higher authorities must have a unified approach. At this time, the perpetrator, Zhang Hongqi, had been drinking tea at the police station for half an hour. Lin Xingnan failed to catch Mustache after all, because her father Lin Yuan called her and asked her to ignore the matter because the person directly responsible for the matter was Dingqing Group. And Lin Yuan is still thinking about cooperating with Dingqing Group. At the same time, Branch Chief Ma Hao also asked Lin Xingnan to recuse himself and let another police officer take over the case. Lin Xingnan, who was filled with a sense of justice, almost went berserk. The person responsible was obviously caught, but his superiors ignored him. Lin Xingnan decided to investigate to the end, just to restore the truth of the matter. This matter continued to ferment, but when the real husband broke out, some good people revealed yesterday's predictions, causing an uproar. However, at this time, Lin Yu, Zhang Shi, and Li Ruochen found a hotel and stayed there first. Now the three of them have become homeless. Li Ruochen is okay. She was originally a boarder, but she didn't want to go back to school alone, so she rented 2 rooms. Lin Yu and Zhang Shi lived in the standard room, and Li Ruochen lived in single room. After settling down, Lin Yu lay in the bathtub with injuries all over his body. The water in the bathtub was dyed red because of Lin Yu's body. Lin Yu began to check his body. Fortunately, since entering the Lin family, I have been beaten every now and then, so I have already tempered myself. Under the intensity of the blow during the day, not a single bone in the body was broken. All the injuries were soft tissue. The wounds looked scary, but in fact they were nothing serious. Lin Yu considered whether to go to the infirmary tomorrow for a simple bandage, but he considered that he would have to meet Minghu, the boss of Foxway, tomorrow. This is a real boss, and Lin Yuan even has to line up to clean his toilet. For such a big boss, not to mention the masters around him, his rank must be ridiculously high. When the time comes, another beating is inevitable, and bandaging means no bandaging. Just when Lin Yu got up from the bathtub and wanted to use the shower head to wash his body before going to sleep, Lin Yu was surprised to find that hundreds of scars on his body had begun to scab. Okay, now I don't even need to wrap it up. Tonight is destined to be a sleepless night for the Lin family. After Lin Xingnan finished working on the scene, he did not go back. After briefly treating the wound in the hospital, he still moved into Quanji. The family atmosphere of that home would make her go crazy if she stayed there. When Lan Lin saw Lin Tianyang, who was beaten into a pig's head and helped into the Lin family by the ragged Lin Shiyan, she felt so distressed that she almost died on the spot. Fortunately, Lin Tianyang had been simply bandaged at Lanlin Hospital before returning to the Lin family. Originally, Lin Xiaotong wanted Lin Tianyang to be hospitalized for treatment, a full body examination and water treatment. But Lin Tianyang, who was strong, struggled to go home. How could he let go of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to betray and frame Lin Yu? Seeing Lin Tianyang with his head and face wrapped up like a mummy, Lan Lin felt so distressed that she almost stuffed Lin Tianyang into her womb and started anew. The whole family gathered around Lin Tianyang to mourn. It is estimated that the death of Lin Yuan, the head of the family, would not cause such sadness. After crying, Lan Lin, who couldn't stop sobbing, said angrily, "Who is it? If you dare to hit our Tianyang, I will never let him go. I want him to go to hell." Shurian, it's true, you are the elder sister. How can you watch others beat your brother like this? Although Lin Shurian did not suffer any substantial injuries, and the most serious injury was a bulge on the back of his head where he was hit with a sap, the humiliation he received was not much less than that of Lin Tianyang. Lin Shurian said aggrievedly, "There are so many of them, and I can't do anything about it. Moreover, I was." Only then did Lan Lin notice that her daughter seemed to be injured, and asked symbolically, "Why did you get yourself into this? Are you okay?" These words suddenly made Lin Shurian's heart sink to the bottom of his heart. In an instant, Lin Shurian felt the same as Lin Yu. Obviously you are your biological daughter, but you care more about outsiders than yourself. After thinking about it, Tianyang was also his younger brother after all. He had watched him grow up and saved him. Although I couldn't save him this time, I felt relieved because I had this intention. Lan Lin looked up at the sky at a 45-degree angle and roared, "Who is it? Dare not to take our Lin family seriously? Where is Lao Lin? Call him to come back. His son has been beaten like this, and he still has worries outside." Entertainment. The words Lin Shurian, Ding Qing, were already on his lips. Lin Tianyang struggled a few times in Lan Lin's arms and said with all his strength, "Don't blame sister, after all, she is brother Lin Yu's friend." Lin Shurian was stunned. What kind of logic and IQ does this allow him to regard Mustache as Lin Yu's friend? "You know, Lin Yu was beaten no less than you, Lin Tianyang." Bang! Lan Lin slammed the water cup in her hand to the ground, breaking into countless pieces. He said hysterically, "It's this little beast Lin Yu again. Doesn't he want to break away from us? Why are they getting involved again? Where are the others?" An angry Lan Lin cursed. "If he dares to step into the Lin family's door again, I'll see if I don't break his legs." Lin Shurian suddenly felt uninterested and quietly exited the living room, leaving behind the rampaging Lan Lin and the strange Lin Tianyang. At this time, it was almost 1 o'clock in the morning. Lin Yuan, who originally wanted to spend the night in the office, was called back by Lan Lin. Lin Yuan, who returned home, was shocked by Lin Tianyang's tragic situation. When he first persuaded Lin Xingnan, he didn't hear Lin Xingnan mention Lin Tianyang being beaten, and he didn't care much about whether Lin Xingnan and Lin Shurian were beaten. He just asked Lin Xingnan not to get involved in the Dingding City group. After hearing this, Lin Xingnan hung up the phone without saying a word, which made Lin Yuan feel very embarrassed. After putting down the phone, Lan Lin called and said that Lin Tianyang had been beaten before he had calmed down for half an hour. After Lin Yuan rushed home in a hurry, he saw Lin Tianyang, who was no different from a mummy. He was so distressed that he turned around in circles and muttered, "Who is it? How dare you beat my son like this? I, Lin Yuan, will definitely not be able to spare him." Lan Lin rolled her eyes at Lin Yuan and said angrily, "Who else could it be? It's your precious son." "Who?" Lin Yuan looked at Lan Lin with disbelief and asked, "Do you think it's Lin Yu? This traitor, how could he do such a thing?" Lin Yuan picked up the phone angrily and called Lin Yu. The results showed that the mobile phone could not be connected. Called again and still couldn't get through. Lin Yuan understood that Lin Yu had blocked him. Lin Yuan was furious and threw his cell phone to the ground, spinning around in circles, roaring, "This traitor dares to block my cell phone. He has been involved in the underworld at a young age. He will pay back in the future. Old Sheen, prepare a car. I want to go to his school. I want to cut off his tuition fees. I want to make it impossible for him to go to school." At this time, Lin Shurian heard the sound of Lin Yuan coming back, walked down the stairs, and said to Lin Yuan, "It's already early in the morning. Lao Qin didn't sleep at home today, and besides, the school won't let him in. As for the tuition fee, I heard Lin Yu himself said the day before yesterday that it seems that it is only 300 a month. What's the point of stopping?" "What?" Lin Yuan roared. "Who gave him the money? Wasn't it based on the standard of 50,000 a month? Why is it only 300? It's just nonsense." Before Lin Shurian could defend himself, Lin Yuan smoothed his hair and said angrily, "Stop talking about this matter, even if it's 300, stop it. It's really outrageous. You are trying to force me into the palace. I'm not dead yet? Oh, by the way, Shiryan, do you know what kind of power that beast is hooking up with? Find someone to break his boss's legs tomorrow, and show that traitor that he's playing tricks on you. Those are the rest of my tricks. You're still young. When Lin Shiryan saw Lin Yuan, whose face was red and breathing heavily, he couldn't believe it. Is this his father who was calm and decisive in times of trouble? Indiscriminately blaming his own son? It feels quite irritating. Everything related to Lin Tianyang, without exception, is biased towards Lin Tianyang. It was as if Lin Tianyang was his reverse scale. Tianyang knows about this. Didn't he just say that those people are Lin Yu's friends? Lin Shiryan's IQ suddenly came online and he said to Lin Yuan, "Ask him." Lin Tianyang was very grateful for Lin Shiryan's amazing assist. He only knew about fighting for favors and making small moves, but he didn't even notice the bomb hidden in Lin Shiryan's assist. Lin Tianyang struggled to get up and said weakly, "Dad, if you promise to forgive my brother, I will tell you." This sentence almost made Lin Yuanlao burst into tears. He looked at Lin Shiryan and said, "Look. This is the pattern, this is the mind, this is the family affection. Look again, that beast Lin Yu, in order to win favor, did everything possible, and even colluded with the underworld to beat Tianyang like this." After saying that, he turned to look at Izzy and said bitterly, "Tianyang, don't worry about that beast. You treat him as your elder brother, but does he regard you as his younger brother? He acted like a demon the day before yesterday, and wanted to leave our Lin family. Today, he colluded with the underworld and targeted you. If he is not treated well this time, the world will be turned upside down." When Lan Lin heard Lin Tianyang's words full of affection and love, she was so moved that she gently stroked Lin Tianyang's hair that had been shaved off with trembling hands and said, "Tianyang, if you don't shave off his thorns properly this time, sooner or later our Lin family will be in his hands. Don't worry, we won't do anything to him. The most we can do is break his legs to prevent him from running around and doing evil in the future. This is also for his own good." The atmosphere had reached this point, and Lin Tianyang felt that it was almost over, and struggled. "I heard from the gangster who took the lead in beating me, who they are from Ding City. Dad, don't embarrass others too much. After all, those people are also working." He had forgotten that the word, Ding City, appeared in Lin Yu's mouth just the day before yesterday. General Green Tea is not very easy to use, except for high-end green tea. Lin Yuan was stunned and said to himself, "Ding City? How is that possible? Just now Xingnan said that he wanted to investigate Dingqing. Why is this beast Lin Yu getting involved with Dingqing? I remembered that our cooperation with Dingqing was ruined by him. Forget it then, Tianyang, have a good rest and let your second sister take you to the hospital tomorrow for proper treatment." After saying that, like a defeated rooster, he picked up the clothes on the coffee table and went upstairs. This will make Lin Tianyang unable to deal with it. I was gritting my teeth just now, why did I suddenly become so completely intimidated? Green tea is overturned. Early the next morning, Lin Yu woke up and saw a set of jeans on his bed. Zhan Shi looked at himself with a smile. Lin Yu rubbed his eyes and asked, "Did you buy it? How much did it cost? I will pay you back when I have money." Zhan Shi looked like you don't think of me as a brother and said, "Brothers, let's talk about this out of the blue. I see that the clothes you are wearing are too torn to wear. Fortunately, I remember your size. Thousands of dollars, don't worry about the money." Lin Yu was startled and said in shock, "A few $1,000s? I can't afford such expensive clothes. You can take them and return them." None of Lin Yu's clothes cost more than 100 yuan. These clothes worth several thousand yuan have never been worn before. "No," Zhan Shi said quickly. "I still owe you 1.5 million, how can I do this?" "I know, you look down on me," Zhan Shi said anxiously. "You just look down on me. Is it my fault that my family is rich?" Zhan Shi seemed to suddenly wake up. "That's not right, your Lin family seems to be very rich too. Then why do you classify yourself as a poor and lower-middle peasant and look down on me, the silly son of a landlord? I see, are you reminding me that I owe you money? Lin Yu, I didn't expect you to be this kind of person. You really disappoint me. Lin Yu looked at Zhang Xu with monster-like eyes. For the first time, he knew that this Tai Han actually had such thoughts. Okay. Lin Yu picked up the clothes and said, "Can I wear it?" When I picked up the clothes and looked at them, I realized that Zhang Xi had even bought all his own underwear, and socks. Even my own mother never bought herself clothes like this. She only cared about Lin Tianyang and her dog. When I tried them on, the sizes were quite different. As soon as the two of them finished washing up, Li Ruochen was outside tentatively, knocking on the door cautiously and shouting at the top of his lungs. "Fat man? Lin Yu? Are you done?" Lin Yu opened the door and said angrily, "Are you girls filled with this kind of messy stuff? What does it mean to be finished? What did we do?" Li Ruochen stuck out his tongue playfully and said with a blushing face, "That's what the books say. If two men live in the same room, they must be gay." Lin Yu subconsciously slapped Li Ruochen's butt. The elasticity coming from his hand made Lin Yu slightly startled. Very warped Q-bomb. Li Ruochen turned around, rolled his eyes at Lin Yu, and said softly, "Rogue." The three of them had breakfast in the breakfast area downstairs. Lin Yu was going to find Minghu in the Golden Fox building. He said to Zhang Xi and Li Ruochen, "You go back to school first. Ruochen helps me ask for leave from Teacher Yuan." After finishing speaking, he looked at Zhang Xi and said, "Fat man, you should try your best to see if you can go to a junior college by sprinting in the last 3 months. If something happens to your parents, you, the rich second generation, may not be able to do it. You have to rely on yourself." Li Ruochen was biting a piece of bread in his mouth, and suddenly his tears fell into the milk cup in front of him, and he sobbed. "Lin Yu, You." Lin Yu was peeling eggs in his hand. When he heard Li Ruochen's incoherent words, he said casually, "Don't worry, I'll be fine. Look, I was beaten hard by Wang Ermao and beaten by Mustache. I'm still alive and kicking now." After saying this, Li Ruochen cried even harder, and cried out of breath, "Lin Yu, I will definitely give you money. I will definitely make a lot of money in the future. I want to be the best in Hangzhou. Andrologist. Then I'll give you all the money I earn." Damn it! Lin Yu hadn't finished peeling an egg yet, so he still stretched out his right hand and gave Li Ruochen a thumbs up. "Okay. I have lofty ideals." Zhang Xi came up to Li Ruochen and said, "Dr. Li, can I make an appointment in advance? I want you to do the surgery yourself and cut the skin for me. The money is easy to discuss and can be advanced in advance. Get out! I'll cut up your thing and feed it to the dogs." After dinner, Zhang Xi and Li Ruochen went to school, and Lin Yu stood at the hotel entrance waiting for a car. Suddenly, a Maybach stopped in front of him. The car window rolled down, and a face that was 3 parts compassionate and 7 parts violent appeared in front of Lin Yu. It was Tang Xin. Lin Yu looked at the roadside and saw 2 men in black who were clearly out of place with the surroundings. These 2 men in black seemed to be the men who followed Tang Xin yesterday. Lin Yu didn't say anything. After all, I owed them 3 million, so it's normal for them to send a few people to keep an eye on me. Seeing Lin Yu with a calm face and no sign of being offended, Tang Xin was even more certain that this person was no ordinary person. Tang Xin picked up a pair of gold-rimmed glasses and put them on. The glasses immediately covered up 90% of the hostility on Tang Xin's face, making Tang Xin look more like a bodhisattva. "Get in the car," Tang Xin said to Lin Yu. "Mr. Ming and I have already made an appointment. He is waiting for you on the top floor of the Golden Fox building." Lin Yu opened the car door, sat in the passenger seat, fastened his seatbelt, and was about to speak when he heard Tang Xin say, "Mr. Lin, you just saw that there are my people downstairs where you live. It's not that we don't trust you. It's not that we have this rule when we collect debts. We must send someone to keep an eye on the debtor, fearing that he will run away or commit suicide. Instead, Mr. Ming ordered that Mr. Lin's safety must be protected." Lin Yu remained silent. The right to speak was in other people's hands and they could say whatever they wanted. It was just like when he was in the Lin family. No matter what he said, no one in the family believed him. Let's go! Golden Fox Building is the third tallest building in Hangzhou, with 78 floors. It is said that the height of buildings in a city directly reflects the status of the owners of the buildings. In other words, Minghu can be ranked third in Hangzhou. 20 minutes later, Tang Xin led Lin Yu and stood downstairs of the Golden Fox Building. The Golden Fox Building was in the shape of a tower. Looking up from below, the top of the tower pierced the sky and was looming. When the doorman and security guard downstairs saw Tang Xin, they all bowed and greeted him, but Tang Xin was so careless that he didn't even nod his head. Go to the elevator hall. There are employee elevators, management elevators, and president elevators. Tang Xin pressed the president's elevator button, and the elevator went up to the 78th floor in just over 10 seconds. It was very fast, which caused Lin Yu, who was riding such a high-speed elevator for the first time, to experience a pressure difference in his ears. After arriving at the president's office, Tang Xin pressed the doorbell, then made a gesture of invitation to Lin Yu, with a meaningful smile on his face, and left. Enter! Lin Yu pushed open the office door. Lin Yu had never seen such a large office. He occasionally went to Lin Yuan's office, Lin Xiaodong's office, and Lin Shiyan's office, but none of them could compare to the one in front of him. This office, which covers an area of no less than 500 square meters, has no partitions and only a few decorated architectural columns. The walls are decorated in the style of ancient city walls, and the ceiling is shaped like a tower, with a height of at least 20 meters. The top of the tower is made of stacked brackets and pagoda arches, making it seem as if one has entered the Hall of Supreme Harmony. There was an extra-large screen in the distance, in front of which was a huge desk. A middle-aged man in his 40s was sitting on a chair behind the desk. Lin Yu slowly walked towards the desk and slowly saw the middle-aged man in front of him. The middle-aged man was wearing ordinary sportswear, and was thin. His height was unknown, and could not be seen when he was sitting, but he had very long arms, a flat head, a slightly dark face, and a gleam of light between his eyes when he opened and closed them. When Lin Yu was about 10 meters away from the desk, he stopped. The middle-aged man behind the desk has been staring at Lin Yu since Lin Yu entered the room. It is obvious that he is observing Lin Yu. Minghu? Lin Yu tried. Minghu is just a position. If you sit in my position, you can also be called Minghu. Minghu said calmly. I am Ming Tang, my surname is Ming, and my last name is Tang, which means Tang of the Tang dynasty. Lin Yu, surnamed Lin, has the character Yu in his name, meaning Yu for protection. Ming Tang looked at Lin Yu with interest and said, Are you going to pay off Li Xingli's debt? Lin Yu understood that Ming Tang should be talking about Li Ruoqin's bastard father. Lin Yu nodded. What do you want in return? Ming Tang said jokingly. We don't accept human organs. I don't sell human organs either. Lin Yu said calmly. And I want to borrow another million. You lend me another 1 million, and 1 month later, I will pay you back 5 million with interest, including Li Xingli's 3 million. If you force my classmate to go to the harem to pick up guests, she has a fierce temper and might commit suicide by jumping off a building. You won't get the money, and it's not worth it to be charged with forcing someone to death. This reason, to me, has no rationality. This is what I do. Here, the only reason for me is to kill people to pay for their lives and to pay their debts for money. If you don't pay the money, you have no choice but to pay back your life. Lin Yu stretched out his hands, put his right hand on his left hand, and said quietly, Okay. What about borrowing money? Ming Tang picked up the pen on the table with his left hand, turned it around twice inadvertently, and put his right hand under the table where Lin Yu couldn't see it. It's easy to borrow money. For the first time, if you borrow less than 100,000 yuan, you can borrow it directly without any formalities. Ming Tang said, If you borrow more than 100,000 yuan, the real estate is mortgaged. It's worth $1 million, but it's worth it with your life. Lin Yu suddenly smiled and said to Ming Tang, I didn't expect that a life of a big shot like you is only worth 1 million. Ming Tang shook his head and said, You misunderstood, it's not my life, it's your life. No, Lin Yu said firmly. It's your life. Lend me $1 million. With a click, Lin Yu suddenly broke off his left index finger. A heartbreaking pain made Lin Yu's eyes tremble involuntarily. Otherwise, you will die now. Ming Tang suddenly sat up straight and said coldly, Do you know what you are talking about? No one has ever been able to threaten Ming Hu face to face. Now I have it. Lin Yu broke off the middle finger of his left hand again and said, I know that there are 4 bodyguards standing behind your screen, armed with guns. Also, there is a pistol hidden under your desk. The right hand you just put down is only about 8 centimeters away from the pistol. At your speed, it takes about 0.7 seconds to take out that pistol, load it, and fire. It takes at least 1 second for the 4 bodyguards behind you to draw the gun, load it, and fire, but it only takes 0.3 seconds for me to rush to you. I still have 0.4 seconds to put the pen in your hand against your neck and force you to submit. The scene fell into dead silence. 5 seconds later, Ming Tang took his right hand out from under the table, put it on the table, and smiled. Deal. After saying that, he stretched out his left hand towards the screen and waved. A long-legged beauty walked out from the screen behind her. The beauty was holding a tray in her hand, with a black bank card placed on the tray. This is a Fox Road special bank card. Each black card contains 1 million. The password is 6 zeros. In 1 month's time, if you don't come back to repay the 5 million, your classmate will become the number 1 in the harem, and Li Xingli will appear in the valley of northern Myanmar. After Lin Yu left, Ming Tang turned out from behind the desk. Yes, turned out, because he was sitting in a wheelchair. Ming Tang lost his legs and was a disabled person. Ming Tang, who was sitting in a wheelchair, sat expressionless for 2 minutes. The long-legged beauty beside him stood motionless beside Ming Tang. After a long time, Ming Tang turned to the screen behind him and said, Mr. Qi, come out and talk. There was a sound of bamboo poles hitting the ground, and a young blind man in a suit and leather shoes walked out from behind the screen. The blind man is tall and tall, his hair is not messy. If it weren't for his dull eyes, he must be a handsome guy, about 27 or 28 years old. The blind man stood in front of Ming Tang and said nothing. Tell me, Wu Shang, if I didn't lend him money just now, what would he do? The blind man's surname is Qi and his given name is Wushang. Qi Wushang looked into the distance with his dull eyes and said quietly, Actually, you already know the answer. Ming Tang smiled. But you can see the future. Qi Wushang. I don't dare. I'm just making a simple judgment about the future based on clues. Then tell me your judgment. He lied. Oh? He said it only took him 0.3 seconds to reach you. He lied. Qi Wushang said quietly. He actually only needs 0.1 seconds. He leaves himself 0.2 seconds to spare. If I take action, he will use these 0.2 seconds to deal with me. He knew there were 5 people behind the screen, but he deliberately said it was 4. What does this mean? This shows that he is not threatening you, but actually dares to do it. He's just a high school student. Ming Tang's right hand trembled slightly, and he asked cautiously, What level is he? You can't think about it, you can't say it, and you can't offend it. Qi Wushang said calmly. Ming Tang took a deep breath and said, Do you, Weasel Wei, have anyone who can deal with people at that level? Qi Wushang smiled and said, Mr. Ming is joking. No one in the world can deal with him. The only people who can deal with people at that level are people at that level. Ming Tang frowned and said, Then what should I do next? I promise that I will protect you for the rest of your life. Ming Tang understood, turned around and said softly to the beautiful woman behind him, Qin Yu, tell Tang Sin to come in. A few minutes later, Tang Sin was called to the office. Ming Tang said to Tang Sin, Go to Eagle Way, to find 2 masters, and follow the person you brought just now. Tang Sin rolled his eyelids. Mr. Ming wants to deal with him? He may be at that level. What the hell? You asked 2 masters to follow him. Whoever wants to deal with him is the one you asked those 2 masters to do. If necessary, you can click. But Tang Sin didn't understand. It's completely unnecessary. If he is really at that level, whoever dares to deal with them will be able to deal with them. Sir, why bother? Ming-Tang pointed at his head with a finger, with an expression that said he hated iron and steel. Can't you use your brain more? He can escape from my Fox Way. Is he a person who needs protection? I just want to tell him that we have helped him and are on the same side as him. After Lin Yu left the Golden Fox building, he took off the new denim jacket that Fatty bought for him, wrapped his left hand, walked to a place where no one was around, used his right hand to straighten the broken finger, and then walked to a house. I went to a fast food restaurant and asked for 2 pairs of chopsticks, bought 2 rice dumplings, ate the rice dumplings, and fixed my fingers with the rope that bound the rice dumplings. Taking the black card, I went to a bank and checked, and found that there was only 600,000 in it. This is indeed what loan shark companies do. This is called dead loan. 600,000 was enough. Lin Yu transferred 600,000 to his bank card and took a bus to the campus of number 16 middle school. Sitting on the playground until the bell rang, Lin Yu walked into the classroom and found Li Ruochen. Seeing Lin Yu without his school uniform, Li Ruochen asked, "Are you going out?" Lin Yu nodded and said, "I'm asking Teacher Yuan for a leave, which should last about 10 days. During these 10 days, you should not leave the school to avoid accidents. If you want to buy something, ask Shangxi to go outside and buy it for you. Remember it." Li Ruochen's eyes turned red. "Then I'll ask for leave too. I'll go wherever you go." "Nonsense. The college entrance examination is in a few months. Are you asking for leave at this time? Are you a rich second generation? Are there any replacement positions in public institutions or state-owned enterprises? Remember, you will be a great male doctor in the future. Come on, Ali." Li Ruochen stopped talking. Lin Yu went to the class teacher's office and searched around but couldn't find Teacher Yuan, so he had to give up. After leaving school, Lin Yu went to the little girl's internet cafe again, charged 2,000 yuan into his internet card, and then found the innermost box. This was originally a couple's box, and there were 2 computers in the box. In the future that he saw when he died, Lin Yu accidentally discovered a small game called Sheep's Sheep. This low-cost game was played like crazy. In just 1 or 2 months, the game publisher earned tens of millions. Now Lin Yu wants to copy this game and name it Awesome. When Lin Yu got into work mode, he bought 2 boxes of instant noodles and Laotan pickled cabbage. He did not receive the sponsorship fee from Laotan. Although Laotan later overturned due to hygiene problems, Lin Yu felt nothing. After all, he was in the temple when he was a child. When I pickled pickles with my master and my brothers and sisters, I also used my feet to make pickles. The brothers and sisters had a great time stepping on it. After stepping on it, press it with big rocks. Later, I heard the news from somewhere, saying that someone made a fortune after discovering that the stone used to press pickles at home was found to be jade, or ice-type imperial green. Lin Yu, Jiaming and Juehui spent a lot of effort to bring their own pickle-pressing stone down the mountain, hoping to sell it at a good price and become rich overnight. Discovered by Xuanzai, all 3 of them were beaten by willow sticks. Lin Yu was the eldest and was beaten the hardest. "It's not clean, you won't get sick after eating it." Next, Lin Yu started looking for an artist online and designed the game character first. Since it was a cow, he couldn't use a sheep, he had to use a cow. Lin Yu is not addicted to games and rarely plays games, but he knows this truth. You think you are playing a game, but actually the game is playing you. Why standalone games cannot last long is because standalone games cannot play with you. Only by adding the desire to win and team honor can a game deeply bind players. Game companies develop human nature. Without contrast and showing off technology or wealth, it means nothing. So I often see people on the internet who, in order to show off, put their grandfather, father, and husband directly in jail. This makes many people feel crazy and unreasonable, but the profound bad nature engraved in human genes controls human behavior. You can die, but you can't not show off. Now that he has mastered the core of the game, the rest is a technical issue. For a small program that was mutated from Xiaoxiol, Lin Yu, who has always ranked first in the school and even the city in mathematics, can easily master it. Before this, he had never even learned programming. Everything is learned and used now. The life of a scholar is so tough. The explosion at Sihai Restaurant was like a tsunami, spreading throughout Hangzhou and even eastern Zhejiang province. Various internet celebrities began to interpret Sihai Restaurant, but the officials still did not give an authoritative announcement, which led to various discussions about the matter among the public on the internet. Some said it was a gas tank explosion or a terrorist attack. There was also a rumor that there was a couple attending the wedding, and the bride had not completely broken up with her ex-boyfriend. She had received hundreds of thousands of dollars in gifts from him, but in the end she married the current groom and refused to return the gifts. As a result, the bride's ex-boyfriend was so angry that he, carrying explosives, and died together with the bride. At this time, Lin Xingnan, who had the most say, appeared in a pawn shop. Lin Xingnan was kicked out of the Sihai Restaurant case and transferred to another case. This case was a theft at a pawn shop, and Lin Xingnan was ordered to catch the thief. Lin Xingnan, who was so angry that she made a statement at the pawn shop, immediately asked for leave. It just so happened that she was planning to rent a house near the police station, as staying in a hotel all the time was not a good idea. That afternoon, Lin Xingnan found a well-decorated 2-bedroom, 1-living-room apartment in the nearby Hengda Garden. It was fully furnished with furniture and facilities. The landlord originally wanted to use it as a bridal chamber, but the bride and her male bestie ran away, leaving the house empty. Came down. With Lin Xingnan's financial resources, it would be no problem for her to buy 8 or 10 houses, but she didn't want to make a big fuss. In fact, she was not completely desperate about the Lin family. If she bought a house outside now, she would be basically the same as Lin Yu, betraying the family. The Lin family. After cleaning up, Lin Xingnan tidied up the living room, hung a large whiteboard on the wall, used the living room as a case analysis room, and began analyzing the case. Lin Xingnan wrote the 4 words, Dingqing Group, in the middle of the whiteboard. Then, with Dingqing Group as the center, all the information related to Dingqing Group was sorted out. April 28th, people from Dingqing Group appeared on Xiangqing Street, and the Sihai Restaurant exploded. After the Sihai Restaurant explosion, he and Lin Shiyan appeared at the scene. Just when the two were in crisis, Lin Yu also appeared on the scene. 1 year ago, Lin Yuan negotiated with Dingqing Group and wanted to cooperate on the land in the western suburbs. The cooperation method was, Dingqing would be responsible for the development of the property, and the Lin family would build a Class A hospital there. When the negotiations were halfway through, a major shareholder of Dingqing Group found Lin Yuan and proposed to break away from Dingqing Group and work together with Lin Yuan to develop the land and share the profits equally. The premise is, the Lin family invests 20 billion yuan, establishes a new real estate company with that shareholder, and then participates in the bidding with Dingqing Group. This is equivalent to the emergence of a Number 6. Within the Dingqing Group, the emergence of a phenomenon of betrayal and acts of betrayal of the group. According to Lin Yuan's estimation, if this project can be negotiated, he can get 5 to 10 billion in dividends in Shijiao. This is not the most important thing. The key point is that Lin Yuan has long wanted to get involved in the real estate industry, and this is a rare opportunity. But this matter was ruined by Lin Yu. Lin Yu's approach was simple and direct. You guys are fighting among yourselves and secretly poaching people from outside the group, so I will expose you. This move is like removing the fuel from under the cauldron and achieving a great result with little effort. Just like that, the matter fell through. The furious Lin Yuan even threatened to pay 10 million to buy the leg of the reporter who exposed the matter. But it turned out that the culprit behind this incident was actually his own son. In this case, Lin Yu is indeed unforgivable. This is no longer a matter of competing for favor at home or using tricks and schemes. This matter has risen to the level of the Lin family's survival and development. So, since Lin Yuan didn't beat Lin Yu to death, he was already his biological son. But why did Lin Yu still take it for granted? Are you going to break up with your family? This is not the case. Lin Xingnan checked the land in the western suburbs yesterday. I discovered a surprising thing. The land in the western suburbs is still there and has not been developed. The reason for the shelving was that after review by the Environmental Protection Department, it did not meet the requirements for building residential areas. It's just a piece of land, and that piece of land is in an excellent location, at the junction of city and suburbs, at the Golden Section. You can imagine how much profit it will bring to Dingqing Group if it is developed into a high-end real estate. But it has been idle for more than a year, and it has been idle for 4 or 5 years before. Why is this? Lin Xingnan went to the Environmental Protection Bureau again to investigate the past and present of this land. The reason given by the Environmental Protection Agency was that the toxic substances in the soil on that land exceeded the legal limit, and the radioactive substances underground exceeded the legal limit. It turned out that the former site of this land was a large pesticide chemical factory. During the nearly half-century of non-stop production, the land had been seriously polluted. This is not the most serious thing. There is a hill less than 1 kilometer away from this land. The original development of Dingqing Group also included this hill. However, the Environmental Protection Department has detected radioactive materials in this mountain, which means that this land has no possibility of commercial development. After digging deeper, Lin Xingnan broke into a cold sweat. The so-called fighting in the nest, poaching, and the sixth child are actually all a play directed and performed by the Dingqing Group. The reason is that when Dingqing Group first acquired the land, it did not conduct an inspection. As a result, the land was in their hands and could not be thrown away, occupying a large amount of Dingqing Group's funds. Dingqing Group, which was eager to get out of its trap, found Lin, who was eager to enter the real estate industry. In order to fear that Lin would discover the secret of this land, Dingqing Group did this poaching trick. Lin Yuan was indeed fooled. It is conceivable that without Lin Yu's interference, the current Lin family would have been severely weakened and even depressed. What's more, at this time, Lin Xiaotong and his sixth sister Lin Xiehong were preparing for Linsure Pharmaceutical to develop a medical beauty product and prepare using Lin's Pharmaceutical as a platform. Lin's Pharmaceutical will be listed on the market. If Lin's is trapped at this time, then Lin's Pharmaceutical will be in vain, and the research and development of all related new products will be stopped. What a horrific event is this! But how did Lin Yu know that this matter was a scam? He was only a high school student, and he was a little transparent in his family. No one cared about him, let alone anyone talk to him about the company's development plan. This made Lin Xingnan very puzzled. Lin Xingnan erased the 4 words Dingqing Group on the whiteboard and wrote the 2 words Lin Yu. Lin Xingnan began to study Lin Yu. She began to collect all the information related to Lin Yu. The latest information is, Lin Yu rescued himself and Lin Shiyan the day before yesterday. Although Lin Yu was trying to find an explanation for his classmates, he got involved in the chaos of Sihai Restaurant. But the final result was obvious, he and Lin Shiyan were rescued. Lin Xingnan is a rational person who has a similar personality to Lin Shiyan, but his work style and living habits are completely different. Until now, Lin Shiyan still believed that the reason why Lin Yu appeared there was to find an explanation for his classmates, and to watch the jokes between his sisters. Therefore, even if her view of Lin Tianyang has changed slightly, her view of Lin Yu has not changed. Lin Xingnan decided to call Lin Shiyan over to talk. Lin Xingnan put down the pen in his hand and dialed Lin Shiyan's cell phone. "Second sister, are you free now? I want to talk to you." After hearing this, Lin Shiyan said quickly, "It just so happens that I also want to talk to you. You'll be waiting for me in the whole season. I'll be here in 10 minutes. Lin Xingnan said quickly. "I rented a house right next to our unit. I'll send you the address. I'll see you in half an hour." Lin Shiyan was silent for half a minute and said, "Fourth sister, do you want to be like Lin Yu and sever ties with your family? Do you know what impact this will have on your family?" Lin Xingnan smiled and said, "It's not enough to cut off the relationship. I'm used to living alone outside, and I'm no longer suitable for the life of a big family. Is it because of Lin Yu?" After hearing Lin Shiyan's words, Lin Xingnan immediately shook his head and said, "No! That must be because of Lin Tianyang." Lin Xingnan stopped talking, sighed softly and said, "Let's wait until you come over to talk." After saying that, he hung up the phone. The door was not closed. After Lin Shiyan pushed open Lin Xingnan's door, he found Lin Xingnan sitting on the sofa and staring blankly at the whiteboard on the wall. Lin Shiyan said nothing, walked behind Lin Xingnan and looked at the blackboard. I saw two big characters written on the blackboard, Lin Yu. Next up is 1. Lin Yu ate Lan Lin's poodle. 2. Lin Yu stole Lan Lin's bracelet. 3. Lin Yu peeked at Lin Shiyan taking a shower. 4. Lin Yu replaced the watch Lin Xiaotong gave to his future boyfriend with a live toad. 5. Lin Yu pushed Lin Tianyang into the swimming pool and almost drowned Lin Tianyang. 6. Lin Yu stole Lin Tianyang's Patek Philippe watch. 7. Lin Yu disrupted the cooperation between Lin Yuan and Dingqing Group. 8. Lin Yu's infant lock of longevity appeared in the corner of the bathtub in Lin Tianyang's bathroom. 9. Lin Yu appeared at the explosion scene of Sihai restaurant. Lin Shiyan saw Lin Yu's evil deeds listed on the whiteboard and said angrily, "For a sister, this Lin Yu is simply unreasonable. You said, are we treating him badly? He just stares at the sky and does anything to win favor. He even peeks at me taking a shower. This kind of dirty guy doesn't deserve the surname Lin." Lin Xingnan stood up, walked to the whiteboard, and put a cross on the first line with the pen in his hand. Then continue down and make a cross on the 5th line. The right hand continues downward and makes a cross on the 7th line. While making a cross, he said without looking back, "But this dirty guy saved us the day before yesterday. Don't you think it's ridiculous? Don't say that Lin Tianyang also wants to save us, but he doesn't have the ability. But as long as he has the heart, it's enough." "Wrong!" Lin Xingnan turned to look at Lin Shiyan and said firmly, "He doesn't have this intention at all. When I was investigating the explosion site of Sihai restaurant yesterday, I visited the surrounding stores. In fact, Lin Tianyang arrived at Xiangqing Street an hour ago. He watched the whole process of me and you being humiliated, beaten, and even losing our lives without showing up. He showed up last because he felt that Lin Yu had settled everything and he could pick up a ready-made hero to save the beauty. He underestimated Lin Yu. In fact, he has always underestimated Lin Yu. He always thinks that he is smarter than Lin Yu, more skillful than Lin Yu, and can do tricks. Actually, Lin Yu knew what he did from the beginning, but he just didn't want to expose it. What Lin Yu was thinking about was family ties. This is why Lin Tianyang can keep kidnapping and playing with Lin Yu. When none of this existed, Lin Yu immediately plunged him into a desperate situation with just one look. Lin Shiyan was already surprised and retorted, "For sister, how can you say that about Tianyang? I admit that he is sometimes a little cautious, but it is just a normal reaction because he is afraid of being abandoned by our Lin family. You know, he is our younger brother. He has always been hardworking and positive. We can't put such a heavy label on him just because he failed to save someone once. It's not fair to him." Lin Xingnan suddenly turned around, approached Lin Shiyan, and said coldly, "Fair? Second sister, you are a lawyer. You should know best what fairness is. From the day Lin Yu stepped into the house to the day he left home, we only bought him one set of clothes, and the price was less than 100 yuan. And Lin Tianyang's toys are piled up in several rooms. You tell me this is fair? Lin Yu's monthly living expenses are 300 yuan, and he doesn't even have breakfast at home. And Lin Tianyang's living expenses are 50,000 yuan. Do you think this is fair? Lin Yu walks to school every day, while Lao Qin drives Lin Tianyang to and from school every day. You tell me this is fair? Lin Tianyang's room is close to 200 square meters, with complete living facilities and servants to clean it. Lin Yu lives in the basement, which is less than 15 square meters. Do you think this is fair?" Lin Shiyan was frightened by Lin Xingnan's excitement, and argued feebly, "It's not because he has many bad problems, and everyone in his family wants to help him." Lin Xingnan's heart was up and down, and he tried hard to see what was going on in the mind of his second sister. He even wanted to see what was going on in the minds of his eldest sister, Lan Lin, and Lin Yuan, the so-called family members. After a long time, Lin Xingnan let out a heavy breath, as if all his strength had been taken away, and said feebly, "Actually, I am just like you, just like my parents. They are all a bunch of shameless people. Self-righteous, aloof, led by one's own preferences. The funny thing is, I thought I was defending Wei Guangjing's truth. In the name of my good for you, I did the most selfish thing. Lin Shuyan was stunned by his sister's words and looked at Lin Xingnan as if he were a stranger. She suddenly thought of Lin Yu and felt that Lin Xingnan's character was so similar to Lin Yu. The only difference is, Lin Yu's character is a little softer, a little forbearing, and a little kind-hearted who sees through things without telling them. But Lin Xingnan couldn't help but hate evil. Both of them have a kind of fierce determination. Once they break through the limits set in their hearts, there is no power in the world that can make them look back. This may be one of the few bloody qualities lurking in the Lin family's bloodline. Lin Shuyan glanced at the record on the whiteboard and said to Lin Xingnan, "What do you mean by putting a cross on these things Lin Yu did?" Lin Xingnan had lost the desire to communicate with Lin Shuyan. No matter how hard she tried, it might be difficult to change Lin Shuyan's view of Lin Yu in a short period of time. Following Lin Shuyan's gaze, Lin Xingnan regained his senses and asked, "What do you think? During this period, are you just like your parents, burying your head in the desert and turning a blind eye to what is happening around you? Or do you feel that your brain is grafted, and every extra bit of brain power you use is delivering nutrients to others, so you don't want to use it?" Lin Xingnan was not in the mood to take care of Lin Shuyan's emotions and continued, "Second sister, you are a lawyer. The reason why Lin Yu ran away from home that day was because Lin Yu pushed Lin Tianyang into the swimming pool and almost drowned Lin Tianyang. As a lawyer, did you go to the scene afterwards to take a look and, for the sake of your so-called fairness, restore the scene at that time? I think you will definitely say, putting aside the facts, it was wrong for Lin Yu to push Lin Tianyang into the swimming pool. Bah! Let me tell you, this matter is pure fiction. I went to see it on site. Our swimming pool is 30 meters long and 8 meters wide. The water depth is 1.2 meters in the south and 2 meters in the north. And according to what you said, the place where Lin Tianyang was rescued is the south of the swimming pool. Disregarding that Lin Tianyang is a good swimmer, take Lin Tianyang's height of 1.82 meters as an example. As long as he is not knocked unconscious, or his hands and feet are tied up and thrown into the pool, the water depth of 1.2 meters will have no effect on Lin Tianyang. Not the slightest threat. Coincidentally, the surveillance camera above the swimming pool was broken. But don't forget, there is another witness at the scene, Lao Qin. Old Qin told me that at that time, Lin Yu was at least 10 meters away from Lin Tianyang. Unless Lin Yu learned the magical skill of beating cattle across mountains, it would be absolutely impossible to push a swimmer so far away into the swimming pool. I know you must say it. Don't listen to Lao Qin's words. Lao Qin usually sympathizes with Lin Yu and often speaks for Lin Yu. His words are not acceptable and he will definitely protect Lin Yu. But don't forget that there is a technology called hard drive recovery technology. Yes. I have restored the hard drive in the hard disk video recorder at home. Haha, it turns out that this section is not included. Because some people have turned off monitoring during this time period in advance. But he forgot that there is surveillance at the door of our house. I know you must say that the door is at least 50 meters away from the swimming pool. How could you possibly see what happened in the swimming pool? But don't forget, there is time recorded in the surveillance. When Lin Tianyang came in, it was 7:32 a.m. in Lao Qin's car. The time of the accident was 7:45 a.m., and the time Lin Yu entered was 7.44 minutes and 27 seconds. The gate is 63 meters away from where Lin Yu had the accident. Normally, a person who is 1.75 meters tall can walk about 85 meters per minute, unless he is in a hurry to have a meal and walks 3 steps and 2 steps at a time. Lin Yu's height is estimated to be 1.68 meters. As for why he is so short, please let me think for myself. In 33 seconds, he can only run 50 meters at most, unless he has calculated that Lin Tianyang is waiting for him 63 meters away from him to push him into the swimming pool. Then he jogged all the way and pushed Lin Tianyang accurately into the swimming pool. Haha! With Lin Tianyang's physique, there's no telling who will vote for whom. After listening to Lin Xingnan's words, Lin Shiyan felt cold all over and his hands were shaking. What Lin Xingnan said was actually very easy to do, but as a lawyer, he just didn't do it. She subconsciously regarded Lin Tianyang as her younger brother. How could she investigate her younger brother? He is so well behaved, so sensible, so excellent, and polite to everyone he meets. Unexpectedly, the truth of this matter turned out to be this. In this case, the fact that Lin Tianyang killed and ate Lan Lin's dog should be a myth. Because she had heard from Lin Yu's classmates at Sihai restaurant that Lin Yu was allergic to dog hair and would never touch Lan Lin's dog unless he wanted to die. But why would he admit it? Also, what about the fact that he peeped at her bathing? What about the matter that disturbed the cooperation between Huang's father and Dingqing Group? What about stealing Mom's bracelet? What about stealing Lin Tianyang's watch? Even if Lin Tianyang played some tricks and arranged Lin Yu in order to win favor, at least he had saved himself, and no one could erase this from Lin Shiyan's heart. Lin Shiyan shook his heavy head and said, "Fourth sister, have you forgotten how much happiness Tianyang brought us when he was a child? Did you bring much comfort to our parents? We can't completely deny Tianyang just because of one or two things." Lin Xingnan threw a document bag on the coffee table to Lin Shiyan and said, "Take a good look, my lawyer sister, don't worry, even if I don't like Lin Tianyang, I can't frame him. After all, he was once my favorite. But do you think you deserve what you say is fair?" Lin Shiyan took the document bag blankly and asked, "What is here? Regarding the information about Dingqing Group, please don't take it away after reading it. I think there must be someone in the family who doesn't want our head of the Lin family to see this document." Lin Shiyan opened the document bag and took a cursory look. He already knew the whole story, but felt a chill in his back. "So, it was Lin Yu who saved our family?" Lin Shiyan said in an unbelievable tone. "But how did he know that the cooperation between us and Dingqing Group was a trap? Is he still just a student?" Lin Xingnan said without comment, "I will investigate this matter myself in the future. I just want to say, do you think our Lin family's doting on Lin Tianyang is normal? Is Lin Tianyang's calculation against Lin Yu normal? Is it normal for the whole family to ignore Lin Yu? I admit that Lin Yu is indeed not as lovable as Lin Tianyang, not as good as Lin Tianyang, not as well behaved as Lin Tianyang, but Lin Yu's surname is Lin, Shuanglin. Okay, let's not talk about this anymore. Let's go to Lin Yu's school to see him in the afternoon and buy him some clothes. I hope it's not too late to make amends." Lin Shiyan nodded and said, "Fourth sister is right. In fact, when we came back from Sihai restaurant yesterday, I saw with my own eyes that Lin Tianyang failed in his acting, and the attitude of his parents made me very disgusted. Let's go after dinner. I'll buy some food and cook some of Lin Yu's favorite dishes to send to Lin Yu. Hey, by the way, what does Lin Yu like to eat?" After these words were asked, the two sisters fell silent. After Lin Yu settled down in the internet cafe, he began intensive game development. He hired an artist online, paid a deposit, and agreed on a time to read the manuscript. Then Lin Yu began to learn programming by himself. After reading a book, Lin Yu suddenly discovered that there is actually a difference between skills and work. Now, although I am not proficient in it, I have at least got the hang of it, but when it comes to actual work, I am still a little confused. After all, there is so much workload. After thinking about it, Lin Yu decided to recruit a programmer or software outsourcer from the internet, and he would only be responsible for proofreading. For this game work, Lin Yu re-registered a Penguin account to contact artists and other work. When I entered software outsourcing on Penguin, a large list of contacts and public accounts claiming to be hackers popped up in the search bar. There are programs for teaching hackers, programs for catching mistresses by hackers, programs for file decryption, and all categories. One of the people's online name caught Lin Yu's attention. This netizen's avatar is made of a character from Assassin's Creed, and his online name is Hacker Xiaowei. Because his sister's name is Mingwei, Lin Yu saw this avatar. I clicked on the Hacker Xiaowei's profile and saw a sentence written on her signature: "All living beings suffer, and the only way to save yourself is to save yourself." Lin Yu was stunned. He was deeply impressed by this sentence because it was what his master said every day. Before I was 12 years old, every night after finishing my homework, my master would force me and my two siblings, Jiueming and Juehui, to meditate. The meaning of Xianzi is not to seek to meditate, but to seek enlightenment. And this sentence, "all living things suffer," is what he often taught Lin Yu and others. The original words are, "all living beings suffer, and the only way to save themselves is to follow nature. God's will is unpredictable, so just follow nature." But the three brothers and sisters all had the ambition to defy fate, and they really disliked the second half of the sentence, but liked the first half very much. All three of them were deeply impressed by this half of the revelation. Lin Yu opened the chat window and carefully typed a few words. "Excuse me, are you a man or a woman?" The other party had read and was replying, but the words he was typing flashed for nearly 2 minutes, and then 2 words popped out. "Guess?" Then, "Please avoid flirting, I am a minor." Lin Yu seriously suspected that this penguin account was a sham account of Minghui, but he had no evidence. "Well, since I don't know who the other party is, and I'm not here to find a relative online, I should still post the task. It doesn't matter who I'm doing it for. At least this online name makes me feel a little warm as soon as I see it." Lin Yu stated his requirements and asked the other party to make a quote. The other party was silent for half a minute, then typed a few words, 8ws. Lin Yu minimized the chat page and opened other hacker panels. Although the other party is suspected to be Juehui, Lin Yu still needs to evaluate the price. What's more, Minghui is only 14 years old. Although her grades are good, he has never seen her show any talent in this area. I chatted with several people, including a public account, and the quotes from the other party were between $10 and $20. One company actually quoted more than 300,000 yuan, but they offered a service, which is that they could contact the game's agency platform, and the 300,000 yuan included the publishing and operating costs. Lin Yu thought about it, and felt that there was an element of bundling sales here. If it was bundled, the quality of the game could not be guaranteed. Lin Yu refused and just said that if he wanted to release it in the future, he could contact him again. Back to Hacker shall we? Lin Yu typed 2 words, "OK." The other party was obviously a little unconvinced and typed another line of words. "Are you not going to bargain again?" Lin Yu smiled and typed a line of words, "Shipment will be completed in a week, and a deposit will be paid if it is successful." 2 words came from the other end, 4 days. As for someone with such high self-demands, Lin Yu even doubted whether he could do the job well. It would be troublesome if he was just a novice and created countless bugs. But seeing that the other party was so confident, Lin Yu decided to give it a try. He transferred 40,000 yuan to the other party, but the other party did not accept cash, so he asked Lin Yu to buy 5 bitcoins and pay with bitcoins. Bitcoin has experienced many ups and downs, but there are still people speculating on it, and Lin Yu did so. After the handover, Lin Yu looked at the time. It was almost 12 o'clock. He hadn't had breakfast yet, and his stomach was growling with hunger. I boiled some water and prepared to make a bowl of instant noodles. Just when the instant noodles were taken out of the box, the cell phone rang. When I took it out, it was Li Ruochen. After pressing the answer button, a low voice came from the other end. "Lin Yu, Teacher Yuan is furious. She said that if you don't come to class today, she will contact the teaching office and expel you." Lin Yu was startled and subconsciously said, "Didn't I ask you to help me ask for leave?" I asked, but she only approved it for 1 day. "You've been here for almost 3 days. It's considered truancy, and she still wants you to find your parents." This sentence is a bit serious. Because almost everyone in the school, including Teacher Yuan, thinks Lin Yu is an orphan. Lin Yu enrolled in school by himself, bought his meal card by himself, and almost all campus activities that required parents to accompany him were done by Lin Yu alone. Teacher Yuan knows this. Now that Teacher Yuan is asking parents to come, it means that Teacher Yuan is really anxious. Teacher Yuan usually took good care of Lin Yu's self-esteem and never asked him to call him parent in front of Lin Yu. The college entrance examination is coming soon. It is normal for Teacher Yuan to be worried about Lin Yu. There are many bad people outside now, and number 16 middle school is not a good school. All kinds of dark forces outside are intertwined. If Lin Yu is tempted or forced by bad people outside, then the school will a good seedling will be lost. Lin Yu thought about it and decided that it would be better to go back. After all, he also wanted to meet Teacher Yuan and see if she still had contact with the fake turtle's first love. Putting away the instant noodles in his hand, Lin Yu quickly walked out of the internet cafe. When he walked to the front desk, he didn't find the little Time A network manager. He didn't know where he was fooling around. Originally, Lin Yu wanted her to help him order the instant noodles in his private room. After all, the door of the private room in the internet cafe is semi-open and cannot be locked. How many good people come here to surf the internet? Stealing money, cigarettes, and food was commonplace, and some even went inside to steal money directly. Fortunately, Xiao Time A is very professional and has some social background. There is almost no extortion in her internet cafe. As soon as I entered the school, I met Zhang Xi. Seeing Lin Yu, Zhang Xi said anxiously, "Why are you here? I've been waiting for you for an hour. Hurry up. Teacher Yuan is waiting for you in the office." Lin Yu quickly walked to the teaching building and knocked on the head teacher's office. Without waiting for anyone inside to speak, Lin Yu opened the office door. After all, this is how most students enter the teacher's office. As soon as the door opened a crack, Lin Yu, who had already stepped into the office with one foot, immediately retreated outside and closed the office door. He saw a young man pressing Teacher Yuan on the chair. The two were kissing passionately, their mouths and tongues intersecting, making a stirring sound. Seeing someone opening the door, the man quickly moved away from Teacher Yuan, straightened his clothes, wiped his mouth, and stood aside solemnly. Lin Yu knocked on the door again. This time, he waited for Teacher Yuan to say, "Please come in," before opening the door again and walking in. Seeing Teacher Yuan, who was in a panic, the buttons on his chest were torn off, revealing his slender neck and fair and plump breasts. It was obvious that the man just now had his hands idle while speaking. Teacher Yuan, with blushing cheeks, whispered to the young man, "Haochen, you go and wait for me outside. I will talk to my student and then go down to find you." Lin Yu looked at the man named Haochen and recognized him as Teacher Yuan's first love, the scumbag who had just returned from abroad, and Teacher Yuan's terminator, Zhou Haochen. Zhou Haochen was upset because Lin Yu had ruined his good deed, but on the surface he had to pretend to be generous, and said politely to Teacher Yuan, "Okay, Shang Jie, you go ahead and I'll wait for you outside." After saying that, he stepped forward to leave. As he walked, he said, "I don't know how many times I've told you that your job only costs a few thousand yuan a month, and it's very hard. Catching the enrollment rate is like catching traitors. It's early. I asked you to resign and start our career with me, but you just didn't listen. I, Zhou Haochen, can afford to support you." Lin Yu originally didn't want to talk too much with this kind of scumbag. He just wanted to remind Teacher Yuan to be more careful. But when he saw Zhou Haochen pretending to be so cool, and when he went out, he looked at him with eyes that were obviously disgusting and even vicious. Lin Yu couldn't help it anymore, with an expression on his face as if he were meeting an old friend in a foreign land, and said in an exaggerated tone, "Is it really you? Brother-in-law?" Lin Yu said, "Brother-in-law," which shocked Zhou Haochen and Teacher Yuan. Among them, Zhou Haochen's face changed the fastest. Zhou Haochen turned his pale face, looked at Lin Yu and asked, "This classmate, what did you call me?" There was a fierce and even threatening look in his eyes. Lin Yu was unmoved and said with a look of surprise, "Brother-in-law, I've been looking for you for a long time." Teacher Yuan looked at Zhou Haochen with confusion. She was waiting for Zhou Haochen to give her an explanation. Zhou Haochen quickly said, "Shang Jie, this student of yours is mentally ill. I don't know him at all. Where did you get your brother-in-law from?" After saying that, he was worried and added, "You know what my character is like. My character is not very good." Lin Pin said leisurely, "I won't give you any money after playing, and you still talk to your sisters about your feelings." Teacher Yuan was shocked. "Lin Yu, what did you say?" Zhou Haochen said angrily. You little bastard, what nonsense are you talking about? Alice, Monica, Nicole, and Chanel are all my sisters. Lin Yu remained unmoved and continued. Have you remembered? After hearing Lin Yu's words, Zhou Haochun's originally pale face immediately turned pale. Several of the names Lin Yu mentioned would come out when he howled in any club KTV. I have played 7 or 8 Alice games alone, including Chanel. But how did the boy in front of him know that he liked to find girls in clubs? After Lin Yu finished speaking, he turned to Teacher Yuan and said, When I was a freshman in high school, I had no money to pay for tuition, so I went to work in the harem as a waiter. Alice, Monica, Nicole, and Chanel are all my sisters. They are so kind to me. She asked me to call all the men who come to play with them brother-in-law. This brother-in-law Zhou is the one I have seen the most. Teacher Yuan was dubious and asked, Zhou Haochun, is what he said true? Hearing that Teacher Yuan changed his name from Haochun to Zhou Haochun became anxious and swore. I guarantee my personality that I have never seen this classmate, nor have I been to the harem. I just came back from the United States the day before yesterday, so it's not like you don't know. You have no personality. Lin Yu said unceremoniously. And you have been back for at least a year. You have been to the harem, heaven and earth, the first bloom on the moon, and the Magpie Bridge. Sister Alice also told me that you haven't paid her the money she paid for serving you last time. She sneaked away on the pretext of going out to buy mineral water, and even added the extra charge. It's 8,000 yuan in total, and you're just avoiding the bill like this. Sister Alice also told me that you promised to go back and marry her after you inherit your Zhou family's property. I don't know if your Zhou family's pig farm is almost bankrupt, and there are only a few pigs left. What can you inherit? Zhou Haochun's face turned from pale to pig liver color. He said anxiously, Little beast, you are talking nonsense and spouting nonsense. My Zhou family's multi-billion-dollar industry is in the oil and rubber business. Where did the pig farm come from? I never said I wanted to marry her. After finishing speaking, Zhou Haochun felt that he had let slip the truth and quickly added, I don't know Alice at all. Oh? Lin Yu said calmly. Since you said you don't know him, it's easy. I'll make a phone call to confirm and the truth will come to light. After saying that, he took out his mobile phone and pretended to make a call. Zhou Haochun was panicking this time. He knew in his heart whether this was true or not. Seeing that Lin Yu was so confident, if Lin Yu really dialed that number in front of Teacher Yuan, then he would be completely ruined. He didn't dare to gamble. Zhou Haochun quickly explained to Teacher Yuan. Zhangjie, it's not what you think. I went there for business. I was drinking too much. It doesn't make sense if I invite customers to play but I don't play. I'm a man too. Wear it. Seeing that the goal was achieved, Lin Yu did not intend to stay and said to Teacher Yuan, Teacher Yuan, are you looking for me? If you are busy, I will leave first. I will come back later when you are done. Teacher Yuan's face was pale, tears welling up in his eyes. When he saw Zhou Haochun's face that he had always thought about, he remembered that this scumbag who had worked with many women had kissed him just now. Teacher Yuan felt disgusted. No. Teacher Yuan pointed at the door and said to Zhou Haochun, Get out, I don't want to see you again. Zhou Haochun was anxious, so he stepped forward to hold Teacher Yuan's hand, and said at the same time, Zhangjie, I love you, you know it, I have been thinking of you abroad. You must listen to my explanation. I don't think our relationship will be affected by these things. I am a businessman and I just act when the situation arises. Sometimes there is nothing I can do about it. When you marry me, you will resign. I will leave the company to you and I will be your man behind the scenes. What a shitty business. Lin Yu said coldly. You are a veterinarian, but you usually only carve out pigs and pierce the noses of cows. Do you still need someone to take care of you? After Yuan Zhangjie heard Lin Yu's words, she remembered that her classmates seemed to have really graduated in animal husbandry. At that time, she was also curious as to why a young man who usually had a good life would choose such an unpopular major. That's because if Zhou Haochun didn't choose animal husbandry, his father would break his legs. When Zhou Haochun was in school, the price of pork increased sharply, and Zhou Haochun's father's breeding farm expanded on a large scale. At that time, he did have some money, but it was only tens of millions at most, not less than 100 million. Zhou Haochun went abroad to learn other people's advanced breeding techniques so that he could make his family's breeding business bigger and stronger when he came back. But while he was abroad, apart from studying the body structure of foreign women and how to cultivate fine human breeds, he learned no professional knowledge at all. At that time, I couldn't think highly of Yuan Shangjia, a 1,000-year-old spinster. Zhou Haochun, who thought he had accomplished something in his studies, showed off his talents after returning to China and turned his original breeding business worth tens of millions into a huge debt. Only then did he remember that there was once such a female classmate who liked him. Seeing Zhou Haochun trying to hold his hand, Yuan Shangjia avoided snakes and scorpions and screamed, "Don't touch me! You go! If you don't leave, I'll call security." Zhou Haochun had no choice but to retract his hand and walked out the door while trying to save him. "Shangjia, you must believe me, I really care about you. The most romantic thing I can think of is to grow old with you. Until you are too old to go anywhere." Lin Yu started humming when Zhou Haochun said it, and said quickly, "Brother-in-law, let's go quickly. If you are late, you will miss the number 2 bus parked on the 8th floor." Zhou Haochun walked to the door helplessly, and as he approached Lin Yu, he threatened in a low voice, "Boy, wait and see, if you dare to ruin my good deeds, I will kill you." Lin Yu looked as usual, turned around and said to Teacher Yuan, "Teacher Yuan, my brother-in-law asked me to tell you that he is changing his career from animal husbandry to fisherman and fish farming." Knowing that he couldn't get any advantage from his words, Zhou Haochun quickly ran away. Teacher Yuan tried hard to control his emotions and said to Lin Yu, "Lin Yu, you haven't come to class for several days in a row. Is there something at home?" Lin Yu shook his head and said, "It's my own business. I may have to take a week off. Don't worry, I won't fall behind in my studies and won't hold back the class." Teacher Yuan said seriously, "Lin Yu, we understand your family situation. Getting into a good university is your only way out. Don't be influenced by bad people outside and lead you astray. You are a good boy with a bright future. You must remember the teacher's words and don't get involved with bad people outside. I know you are short of money. I will give you 2,000 yuan here. You can use it first until you graduate. Give it to me when you make money later." Lin Yu felt moved in his heart. "Teacher Yuan, I still have money. I'm really busy recently. Don't worry, I will review as soon as I have time." Teacher Yuan sighed and said, "Lin Yu, I don't worry about anything else. The only thing I worry about is your physics. As long as you can barely pass physics, then you will be safe in 911 and 285. Children from poor families cannot compete with their father or resources. The only one who can compete is themselves. If you work hard for 3 months, at least you will stand at the starting point of the rich and compete with them. Otherwise, you won't even have a chance to compete with them. You are a good prospect, so you must take good care of yourself. Take the money first. If you don't have enough, tell me. Don't do anything illegal outside because of money." After saying that, regardless of whether Lin Yutong agreed or not, he stuffed the 2,000 yuan in his hand into his pocket. In desperation, Lin Yu could only accept it. When leaving, he said to Teacher Yuan in a pun, "Teacher Yuan, has the school organized a physical examination recently? I suggest you go for a physical examination and check for HIV by hand, so that you can feel at ease." Teacher Yuan's expression changed and he said tremblingly, "You mean Zhou Haochun?" Lin Yu didn't say anything, turned and left. I went back to the classroom. At this time, all the high school courses had ended. The ideal students were frantically answering questions, while the bad students were smoking and chatting in the back. Some were even brave enough to do hot pot in the classroom. This is where bad schools are helpless, and teachers can't control them. In fact, at the high school stage, school management still relies on students' self-management. Everyone is an adult. If you control the students too much, they will hold grudges. In fact, the 3, 6 or 9 grades of people have already been divided in school. In society, it is actually just a process of redistribution. After seeing Lin Yu, Li Ruochen looked surprised. He quickly put down the math question bank in his hand and stepped forward and asked, "Have you been to Teacher Yuan's office?" Lin Yu nodded. Several delinquents who were smoking in the back saw the school goddess and Lin Yu flirting with each other and started to shout, "Oh, the goddess also has a baby. That boy is so thin, how can he do it? Come to see my brother. He is big and everything is big. I guarantee you will be satisfied. Boy, are you okay? You look like a skinny monkey. Come on, call me daddy, and I'll teach you a few tricks." Lin Yu was too lazy to pay attention to these scum. After graduation, these people basically worked for people like Wang Ermao, and after a few years, they returned to their respective communities to work as security guards. Those who are unlucky may have to go to jail, or even be shot. Seeing Lin Yu taking something and leaving, Li Ruochen quickly followed and said, "I'll give it to you." Lin Yu originally wanted to refuse, but when he heard the filthy words spoken by the few students behind him, he nodded and said, "Okay." After the two left, the group of school scumbags behind them still refused to let go. They followed them and made noises, but they did not dare to take action. After all, in school, if they started to take action, they might not even be able to get their high school diploma. When I was about to walk out of the school gate, I happened to see Teacher Yuan walking from another road holding a pile of teaching materials. After seeing Teacher Yuan, Lin Yu nodded and was about to leave. Suddenly, a Cullinan rushed from the road and stopped in front of Lin Yu. Lin Yu frowned, took Li Ruochen's hand, and tried to get around. Lin Xingnan opened the passenger door and got out. When he saw Lin Yu, he looked complicated and shouted, "Lin Yu, where are you going?" Lin Shiyan also opened the cab door and got out of the car. The group of scumbag students following Lin Yu were all shocked when they saw two top beauties getting out of the car. Originally, Li Ruochen liked Lin Yu, which was enough to make these people jealous, but now two beauties with obvious aristocratic aura suddenly appeared, also looking for Lin Yu. What kind of bullshit luck did this guy Lin Yu have? Teacher Yuan also stopped and looked at Lin Shiyan and Lin Xingnan, who had astonishing temperament, with doubts on their faces. Lin Xingnan was still carrying a lunch box in his hand, while Lin Shiyan took out a lot of clothes from the back seat, all of which were big international brands. A few pieces of clothing would cost almost 100,000. When Lin Yu saw the two of them, he showed an undisguised look of disgust. "Ladies, I don't know you. Please don't come to my school to harass me in the future, okay? I have already said that I will pay you back the money I owe your family. It will be a month at most. If I owe you 50,000, I will pay back 100,000. This is okay." Lin Xingnan looked embarrassed and said, "Lin Yu, you misunderstood. We are not here to ask you for money. I made what you like to eat, salt-baked chicken. The college entrance examination is about to take place. Nutrition must be kept up with superior." After saying that, he put the food box in Lin Yu's hand. Lin Yu pushed it several times, but failed to push it away. He picked up the food box and threw it to the ground. When the food box was about to hit the ground, he kicked the food box away and landed in the sewer. He said, "What happened? Lin Tianyang asked you to drug me? What does it have to do with you whether I can keep up with my nutrition? Miss Lin C, instead of catching the thief, do you think it's fun to come here to entertain me?" When Lin Xingnan saw the chicken he had worked so hard to make, it was kicked away by Lin Yu. His heart was cut with a knife, and his eyes filled with tears. He choked and said, "Lin Yu, it's not what you think. I just want to care about you. There is nothing in the chicken. Poison, I am a policeman, how can I do something illegal?" "Yes," Lin Yu said disdainfully. "What you are doing is not illegal. You have controlled the boundaries of torturing me very well. You can tease people to the maximum extent without breaking the law. You really know the law." Lin Shiyan was holding a lot of brand-name clothes and saw Lin Yu kicking away the food box Lin Xingnan gave him. "It was neither a gift nor a gift," he said. "Lin Yu, what do you want? We are your sisters after all. How could you do this to your sister? These are the clothes I bought for you. Put them on quickly and look at where you borrowed these clothes." Lin Yu did not take Lin Shuyan's clothes, but took a step back and said, Lawyer Lin, you are also a person who understands the law. I don't expect you to have a noble personality, but at least you must have some spirit of contract. Don't forget, we have signed an agreement. Do you want me to take it out and review it for you? Lin Shuyan was stunned. He didn't expect that the agreement he signed out of anger would become Lin Yu's shield. Could it be that Lin Yu had expected that one day he would beg for help? Lin Yu, you misunderstood. You're Four's sister and I just want to care about you. Lin Shuyan quickly explained. Care? Lin Yu looked wary. Why, haven't you teased me enough? You don't think it's enough to torture me at home, why don't you switch to the battlefield? That's right. There is no public place like a school at home. There are not many audiences, and the only ones are you old actors. The school is so good. If I am humiliated here and countless classmates are watching, my satisfaction will increase exponentially. Lin Tianyang has become smarter, or is there someone who is guiding him behind his back? Lin Shuyan stood there blankly, her heart shocked. It turns out that in his mind, we are this kind of people. Teacher Yuan saw two women who were obviously members of society pestering his students. He quickly stepped forward and said sternly, These two ladies, my students, are not the kind of people you think. After finishing speaking, he looked at Lin Shuyan and Lin Xingnan and said firmly, Whether you are Monica or Emily, in short, stop pestering my student. He will take the college entrance examination soon. Let me tell you, you and him are not on the same page. He will definitely go to a good university, find a good job in the future, and become a useful person to society. And you are destined to only eat the food of youth. It was obvious that Teacher Yuan had connected the people in society who caused Lin Yu's disappearance these days with the two women in front of him. Even thinking about his first love, who slept with the two women in front of him, and did that kind of thing, Teacher Yuan felt entangled in his heart. These so-called sisters have actually come to the school. Is there still a royal law? Is there still a law? No matter how much money Lin Yu owes you, it should not be a reason for you to harass him. Isn't it just 100,000 yuan? I will pay it back for my student. I hope you will take care of yourself and stop making things difficult for my students. Teacher Yuan's family background is not bad. His father and several uncles opened a shipping company, with hundreds of ships in hand, running transportation. Although he is not rich, he still has tens of millions, or even more than 100 million. This was also the reason why Zhou Haochen had an idea for her. After saying that, he took out his mobile phone from his body and said to Lin Shuyan, Should I scan you or should you scan me? Lin Shuyan looked surprised. Monica? You called me Monica? I said, Teacher, who do you think we are? Teacher Yuan said without raising his head. Is this important? Do you still need me to explain? Don't you just want money? I'll just give you the money. I hope you leave quickly. This is a school. If you don't leave, I will call the police. Lin Shuyan got angry, pushed Teacher Yuan away, and warned. You are his teacher, right? Let me tell you, I am a lawyer. If you are slandering me now, I can sue you. Teacher Yuan was pushed back a step and said angrily, Repay the lawyer? Then he pointed at Lin Xingnan and said, Is that a policeman? I will become a flight attendant tomorrow, and a nurse the day after tomorrow. I know you, is it interesting to say this? I am a woman, and I am not your potential customer. They have just grown up, and your temptation will have little effect on them. You also want to focus on performance? You have already brought customers to school. Do you still want to show some face? Lin Yu's face was cold and expressionless, while Li Ruochen covered his mouth and laughed secretly, feeling inexplicably refreshed. My teacher is quite capable, just like a hen protecting her chicks, with amazing fighting power. A bunch of poor students at the back, seeing the teacher coming, hid at the back and watched the fun from afar. Seeing this situation, Lin Xingnan knew that her explanation would only make things worse, so she said to Lin Yu, Lin Yu, can't you explain it? Do we have to go to that extent? Explain? Lin Yu said coldly. Haven't I explained enough? Which explanation doesn't end up like, you did something wrong and you don't admit it, You make excuses for yourself, and then it goes up to, that's what your monk father taught you. You want me to explain now? Have you already prepared these words, and are just waiting for me to explain them? And then criticize me harshly? I tell you, that was in the past. Now I have nothing to do with you. I signed the agreement. Lin Yu's words immediately made Lin Shiyan fall into memories. It seemed to be just as Lin Yu said. At first Lin Yu would try to explain, but explanations would only bring more criticism. Since when did Lin Yu stop explaining? Whenever something went wrong, he would first admit his mistake and then stand aside and accept punishment. Even so, it all depends on Lin Yuan and Lan Lin's mood. If Lin Yuan is out socializing and his business is not going well, then Lin Yu will be scolded or beaten more. If things go well outside and you are in a good mood, you will be trained less or even not beaten. It seems that Lin Yu is everyone's mood regulator. If anyone is in a bad mood, they can scold Lin Yu and their mood will improve. Lin Xingnan was about to go forward and talk to Lin Yu, but Teacher Yuan stepped forward, blocked Lin Yu behind him and warned. Please don't make any moves. This is a school, not your club or KTV. Lin Shiyan knew that it was useless to continue talking, so he could only say to Lin Xingnan. For a sister, let's go and talk about it later. Lin Xingnan nodded, took one last look at Lin Yu, opened the car door, and the car slowly drove away. Back at Lin Xingnan's rental house, Lin Shiyan threw the clothes and shoes in his hands into the trash can and angrily said, I'm so pissed off. What was that teacher looking at me with? You actually mistook us for ladies. And Lin Yu, don't think that we owe him something just because he saved us once by accident. Why are you so arrogant? Lin Xingnan's face was as gloomy as water, and she said coldly, Now you feel wronged? You deserve it. What were you doing earlier? The grievances Lin Yu suffered at home were 10 or even 100 times more than what you are experiencing now. Did he say anything? Would you believe him if he said anything? Also, second sister, I hope you can use your brain. What does it mean to save us by accident? Don't you see? Lin Yu is coming for the two of us? He was so skinny, and he was pinned to the ground and beaten for such a long time by so many people, but he didn't say a word. I tell you, this is the kind of person our Lin family is. After hearing what Lin Xingnan said, Lin Shiyan carefully recalled the scene at that time and suddenly thought of Lin Tianyang. Thinking of Lin Tianyang's scream like a pig being slaughtered, I suddenly felt that the brother whom I once loved so much was just like that. Thinking of this, Lin Shiyan suddenly calmed down. He looked at Lin Xingnan and asked, For a sister, he sees us as if we were his enemies now. What should we do? Lin Xingnan looked at the so-called evil deeds done by Lin Yu on the whiteboard and said slowly, Let's talk about it later. I believe that some things will be revealed. After Lin Xingnan and Lin Shiyan left, Lin Yu took Li Ruochen and Zhang Shi to a restaurant outside for lunch. I originally wanted to invite Teacher Yuan to eat together, but Teacher Yuan was affected by Zhou Haochen's incident, and she had already eaten lunch in the school cafeteria, so she didn't come. Zhang Shi is a food connoisseur. Although his family runs a restaurant, his taste has long been unsatisfied by the taste of the dishes in his own restaurant. Zhang Shi ate at all the snack bars around number 16 middle school. Zhang Shi particularly likes Sichuan cuisine. Lin Yu always eats white rice with pickles all year round. Almost all dishes sound delicious to him. Li Ruochen's family was not well off, and he often had no food to eat, so his requirements for food were not high. The three of them sat down in the restaurant and ordered 4 dishes: chopped pepper fish head, hot pepper pig ears, maokshuang, and spicy chicken. The restaurant owner and Zhang Shi were old acquaintances, and he also sent a plate of stir-fried bok choy. Just as he sat down and was about to start eating, he heard a curse from the door. You little bastard, I finally caught you. You dared to ruin my good deeds. If I don't beat the shit out of you today, you will be considered to have done it cleanly. When I looked up, it was Zhou Haochen. After this grandson left Teacher Yuan's office, he was so angry that he almost exploded on the spot. The fish that had already entered the pond was forcibly let go by Lin Yu, and this fish is currently the largest fish in his pond. Zhou Haochen has been hanging around outside the school. If he doesn't teach Lin Yu a lesson, he probably won't be able to sleep for a month. When Lin Yu saw Zhou Hao, he had a piece of duck blood on his chopsticks and was blowing air into it with his pointed mouth. Seeing the aggressive Zhou Haochen, the restaurant owner immediately stepped forward to negotiate. My dear brother, we are all guests. Please give me some face and don't make trouble in my restaurant, okay? I can give you a dish. Zhou Haochen pushed the boss away with a look of contempt. Who do you think you are? How dare you call me a brother? Let me tell you, when I was conquering the world in San Francisco, you didn't even know where to piss and play with the mud. Playing. In fact, Zhou Haochen is no more than 35 years old, while his boss is almost 50. It would be more appropriate if the boss said this to him. Lin Yu cursed, put down his chopsticks and was about to leave. After all, it's not nice to mess up someone else's restaurant because of your own business. Just as Lin Yu stood up, a figure flashed outside, and then a man punched Zhou Haochen in the face. The punch was so powerful that Zhou Haochen lost at least 4 teeth. Lin Yu was stunned, Zhang Xi was stunned, and Li Ruochen was stunned. After the last incident, Zhang Xi and Li Ruochen were no longer afraid of anyone picking on them. After all, Lin Yu managed to handle something as large-scale as the Sihai restaurant incident. I'm not afraid of the thin man in front of me. Even Zhang Xi was eager to try and wanted to go forward and fight with Zhou Haochen. But someone didn't give him a chance. A man in plain clothes and greasy work clothes punched Zhou Haochen and cursed. You bastard! You little white face, you took advantage of me being out driving and slept with my woman. I originally thought that no man would be interested in that woman with a physique of more than 200 pounds, but you are so good that you accept everyone who comes. I will beat you to death. Zhou Haochen was stunned by the punch. He covered his mouth, looked at the person who hit him, and angrily said, Who the hell are you? Who slept with your woman? I have plenty of women, why would I need to sleep with your woman? The man in work clothes didn't waste any words. He was over 1.70 meters tall. He grabbed Zhou Haochen by the collar, picked up Zhou Haochen, who was over 1.8 meters tall, and slapped him in the face several times. Zhou Haochen wanted to fight back, but the man in work clothes punched him again, knocking him unconscious. Then he pinched him in the armpit and walked away cursing. This scene stunned the owner of the Sichuan restaurant. Originally I thought that I couldn't do business today and my restaurant would be smashed, but it turned out that this pretty boy slept with someone else's wife and was found by her husband, which saved me a lot of trouble. The boss spat at Zhou Haochen, who was walking away, and cursed. Son of a bitch, you're causing trouble here, I'm going to kill you. You deserve to be beaten. Lin Yu, who originally thought that it would take some effort and even some time, did not expect that his grandson had this hobby. He knew that he was fond of playing, but he did not expect him to play so lavishly with someone's wife. The three of them sat down again, and Lin Yu finally ate the duck blood. While eating, he asked, Fatty, is there any news about your parents? The fat man was sweating profusely while eating, and replied, No, they are all locked up. Even if they want to pass on a message to me, there is nothing they can do. Lin Yu thought about it, and realized that with so many people dead, the rumors outside would never be quelled unless a few scapegoats were killed. If the background of Dingqing Group is strong enough, Zhang Xi's parents might be in danger. It all depends on whether Lin Xingnan has the ability to turn the tide. Is Lin Yuan's parental authority more powerful, or is Lin Xingnan's sense of justice stronger? Li Ruochen picked up a circle of meat from the fish head's eyes and put it into Lin Yu's bowl. He sighed and said sadly, Lin Yu, although I don't know what happened between you and your sister, I have always had a feeling that one day, they will regret it. In Li Ruochen's eyes, Lin Yu is now close to being a god. It was this boy, who couldn't even get enough food to eat and whose clothes were patched, who saved himself from Wang Rimao. Whenever Li Ruochen thought of the scene where Lin Yu was beaten for saving him, his eyes would be filled with tears. He saved me and paid off the 3 million debt for my bastard father. Since Li Ruochen was old enough to understand, no one has ever been so kind to me. Even though his 2 sisters, who were well dressed and drove luxury cars, were not nice to Lin Yu, Lin Yu still resolutely rescued them from the mustache man's stick. Such a boy with affection, righteousness, courage and ability is so unwelcome at home. What kind of brainless parents must be to behave like this? No wonder Lin Yu didn't treat his two sisters well this afternoon. It was all their own fault. Lin Yu returned the tenderest piece of fish to Li Ruochen and sneered. Regret? You overestimate them. With their intelligence, they are not smart enough to regret. But it doesn't matter. I'm fine now. I have a master, brothers and sisters, classmates like you, and a teacher like Teacher Yuan. God has been kind to me, and I am very satisfied. While Lin Yu and his companions were eating, Zhou Haochen was held under the armpit by a man in work clothes and put into a van. The man in work clothes closed the door of the van, and the van drove towards the suburbs. No one would care about this scene, because everyone just saw the man in work clothes coming to catch someone cheating. The man who was caught slept with someone else's wife, so it was only right for him to suffer a little. The car drove for more than 10 miles and stopped in front of an unfinished building. If Lin Yu and Li Ruochen were there, they would definitely recognize that the unfinished building in front of them was the same unfinished building where Wang Ermao kidnapped Li Ruochen last time. The man in overalls threw Zhou Haochen in front of Tang Xin and said, Brother Sun, what kind of death? Car accident or jumping off a building? Tang Xin looked at Zhou Haochen lying on the ground, turned around and asked, Are you sure this guy is the one who ate at our harem, and ran away without paying, and also beat up Grandma and the princess? After he finished speaking, he waved his hand impatiently without waiting for anyone to answer. Jump off the building. After all, a man who doesn't even have money to play with women must be in debt and forced to commit suicide by jumping off the building. It's understandable. After finishing speaking, he turned around and left, saying softly as he walked, You don't deserve to die if you run away from your order or if you hit someone, but you deserve to die if you offend someone you shouldn't have offended. After finishing the meal, Lin Yu returned to the internet cafe again to study. Awesome. Because the Dingqing group probably shielded the radio signals in the Sihai restaurant explosion area, the public's reflection arc on the explosion was relatively long. On the third day after the incident, people began to report the incident one after another. On the fifth day, this matter became a hot search topic and public opinion was in an uproar. There are also many victims who have joined the public opinion army and come forward to speak out. For a time, various rumors spread on the internet. At the same time, dozens of heroic deeds of firefighters rushed into the explosion scene to save people, and there were touching scenes of nearby residents lining up to donate blood. There is no investigation into the cause of the accident. Any words or posts containing analysis of the cause of the accident have been blocked. In the past few days, in addition to keeping an eye on the theft at the pawn shop, Lin Xingnan was also paying close attention to the progress of the Sihai restaurant explosion. Director Ma Hao's response was ambiguous. After all, there were people suppressing him from above. If a mass incident occurred, it would be difficult to deal with it. The branch issued 2 announcements one after another, telling the people not to believe or spread rumors. The second announcement was an official announcement of punishment for several bloggers who privately analyzed the causes of the accident. Lin Xingnan, who was sitting on the sofa, was looking through the video he took last time and calling Zhao Jing. Her mobile phone was smashed by Mustache, but she had uploaded the video to cloud storage and also sent a copy to Zhao Jing. Unlike the impatient Lin Xingnan, Zhao Jing is calm, even calm. Zhao Jing, the cause of this accident is very clear. I don't know what the higher-ups are worried about. Shouldn't they go directly to Dingqing Group to arrest people? The punishment should be punished, the sentence should be sentenced, and the eyes of the people are watching. Xingnan, this matter is not as simple as you think. Zhao Jing responded calmly. Gao Yinglong from Dingqing is a member of the CPTCC and the Deputy Secretary General of the entire East Zhejiang Province Chamber of Commerce. Does this mean you can do whatever you want? Lin Xingnan asked indignantly. Zhang Hongqi, who has been in the detention center for more than a week, was interviewed several times. The content of the interviews was nothing more than to make Zhang Hongqi admit that the fire use in the kitchen of his restaurant was not standardized. He promised that as long as Zhang Hongqi took the matter over, he would not go to jail, and at most he would pay some money. When the matter calmed down, the two of them could be released. Zhang Hongqi's ability to work from a cook to this level is not only due to his hard work, but also a bit of brains. Once you accept it, regardless of whether you will be shot or jailed in the future, even the huge compensation will make you bankrupt. More than 100 people were killed or injured. How could this be a small number? No matter how the work is done above, Zhang Hongqi cannot make progress. The Dingqing group even sent people to threaten Zhang Hongqi face to face. If Zhang Hongqi didn't agree, they would send people to kill his son, and arrange for a desperado to be in a cell with Zhang Hongqi to attack Zhang Hongqi. If this was really done by Dingqing, it would be hard to say whether the outcome of the explosion would be determined. On the same day that Dingqing sent people from the province came and took Zhang Hongqi away. I don't know where he went. The branch leaders don't know, and even the city bureau leaders don't know. On the 7th day, a netizen posted Xuanji's Weibo post on Douyin, and it spread rapidly in less than an hour, with views exceeding 10 million. 2 hours later, the number of views exceeded 100 million. The official account is blocked, and it doesn't matter. It is blocked here and uploaded there, and some people even spread it to each other privately. The masses have a desire to pursue truth and justice, but this desire only accounts for a small part of this matter. The focus of the people's attention is, damn it! There are really such magical people in this world. This is much more powerful than Squidward. The explosion time is accurate to seconds. The number of casualties is accurate to single digits, and even their names and ages are included. Is this definitely a prophecy made before the explosion? Isn't it an accident analysis report secretly sent by some insider with a sense of justice? Lin Xingnan is also brushing this message. She has read it no less than 10 times and will read it again when she returns to the source of the information. Then he used technical means to release the blocked Weibo section. Lin Xingnan was shocked. This thing is simply too weird. Is there really someone with such magical power in this world? Let's look at the publisher again. His online name is Xian Chai. It's a bit familiar, but I can't remember it for a while. Even if a blind man tells fortunes, he would not dare to use such clear language. The words used are very vague and specious, leaving more people to guess. Who is this mysterious person? But this Weibo is just timely. Because the cause of the accident has been clearly stated above. The damage to the gas pipeline caused by the construction of Dingqing Group led to gas leakage. This matter quickly escalated, and the entire internet was looking for this person named Xian Chai. In the Golden Fox building, Ming Tang read out this Weibo post on his mobile phone, and asked the blind man behind him with a smile, "Mr. Qi, what do you think about this matter?" Absolute prophecy! This must be absolute prophecy, Qi Wushang affirmed. This shows that there are still people alive at that level. In the past, whenever there was chaos in the world or a big event happened, absolute language would appear, but this time the bombing of Sihai restaurant, although there were more people killed, is definitely not a big deal. An event of this level is not qualified for the absolute prophecy to appear. This matter is very strange. Does it have anything to do with that kid? Ming Tang asked. Did he do it? Qi Wushang shook his head and said, I can't say for sure. Some people say, this group of people are dead now. I want to ask, who in this world can bear the catastrophe of being widowed, lonely and disabled, and losing money, power and life? Neither can they. Now it seems that someone has really made it this far, and that inheritance has not been cut off. This high school student must not be offended. He may not have reached that level yet, but he is definitely a member of that circle. Ming Tang nodded and said to the woman behind him, Qin Yu, go check out the origin of this mysterious test. At this moment, Tang Xin walked in and said to Ming Tang, Mr. Ming, Gao Englong would like to see you. Ming Tang looked at the Weibo in his hand and said with a smile, It came very quickly. However, among the people who appeared in absolute prophecy, who dares to reach out to rescue them? No, Ming Tang said to Tang Xin. Tell him that it is better to follow fate and bleed than die. If he does not accept his fate, then he will be removed from my path of the fox. There is no place for him in any of the 4 paths. At the same time, the phone rang in the Hangzhou Municipal Party Committee office. After picking up the phone, the secretary straightened his face and said to the city leader, "This is from Secretary Zhao of the Provincial Party Committee." This matter was quickly determined and the announcement came out soon. The cause of the incident was Dingqing Group's illegal operations led to the rupture of the gas main pipe and the accident caused by gas leakage. The chairman of Dingqing Group, Gao Yinglong, together with the group's CEO, personally went to the hospital to express condolences to the injured and dead, and sincerely apologized. Zhang Jun, the person directly responsible for the incident, was arrested, as was the person in charge of the engineering department, as well as the Mustache Gang. A total of more than 100 people were arrested. After the incident handling notice came out, Zhang Hongqi was released. At the same time, Dingqing Group's compensation bill also came out. The 45 people who died were each compensated at 3 million, making a total of 135 million. The other 328 people who were injured to varying degrees were compensated in total, including hospitalization and work expenses, 150 million. In addition, Sihai Restaurant was compensated for 80 million renminbi. All Zhang Hongqi's losses have basically been recovered. The night Zhang Hongqi was released from prison, he called Zhang Shi back and offered Lin Yu 1 million in front of Zhang Shi, but Lin Yu refused. It's not that Lin Yu doesn't love money, but that Lin Yu knows that a gentleman loves money and should get it in the right way. And this matter really has little to do with me. My original intention is just to use this matter to create some heat. Who knew that his master would do such a big thing at the cost of his own life? Lin Yu is very worried. It is difficult to become famous, but it is even harder to live a peaceful life in the future. Once you become a public figure, it is difficult to have your own private space. It is conceivable that from now on, Master's small ruined temple will become the focus of countless people. Lin Yu decided to call the master. I looked at my phone and saw that it was only 7 o'clock. At this time, Xianqi must be doing morning classes. This is Xuanqi's required class every day. If you call at this time, the other party will probably not answer. After putting down the phone, Lin Yu contacted the artist and made final modifications to the character picture sent by the artist. Then I contacted the hacker Xiaowei. The other party's avatar was gray and obviously not online. The main program of Awesome has been completed. In 2 days I can contact the game publishing platform and start the public beta. This kind of small game almost does not require public testing. It mainly depends on the compatibility between the game program and the game platform. Lin Yu decided to hang it in the WeChat applet. After all, Sheep became popular in the WeChat applet. After finishing all this, I looked at the time and it was already 9 o'clock. 8 days have passed since the explosion at Sihai Restaurant. There are still 22 days before his repayment time. Whether he can pay off Li Xingli's gambling debt depends on this little game in his hand. Lin Yu dialed the master's cell phone. The other side of the cell phone was very noisy, as if there was a quarrel. Xuanji's coughing sound was mixed with the noise of many people. After listening for a long time, Lin Yu seemed to understand that Xuanji was quarreling with people from the Culture and Education Bureau. People from the Bureau of Culture and Education want to take back the right to use Dinghui Temple and use it for other purposes. It sounds like they want to develop Dinghui Temple. This is okay. After all, the property rights of the temple are in the name of the Bureau of Culture and Education. But a woman from the Culture and Education Bureau spoke very hard. She actually asked Xuanji to give up her Dharma title. They wanted to use the traffic on the internet to make the person they chose popular. Anyway, the publisher of the Absolute Prophecy made by Xuanzai is just a Dharma name, or an online name. If you say John San is a metaphysician, John San is it. If you say Li Si is it. Sure enough, I still feel that what I said is right. I still want to be an official. It is great to be an official. Whatever you say is what you say. After listening for more than 10 minutes, I heard Xianqi say, "Ouch." and muttered to himself. The phone dialed automatically? How much money will this waste? After saying that, he actually hung up the phone. Lin Yu was holding his cell phone in a daze. He had seen too much ugliness in the Lin family, calling deer a horse, and confusing right and wrong, so he didn't feel too indignant about the actions of the Bureau of Culture and Education. He was thinking about a question: if Dinghui Temple was no longer allowed to live, where would he, Jiuming Jiahui, and Xuanji live? It was the place where I grew up. The three siblings and the master all had feelings for Dinghui Temple. Damn it, if it doesn't work out, I'll buy that temple. Lin Yu said bitterly. I just don't know if the state allows the sale of this kind of historical building. After checking on the internet, it seems that there is no precedent for selling this kind of historical building in the country. It's no wonder that if the country liberalizes its policies in this area, then with the current strength of the consortium, it is estimated that someone can afford to buy the Forbidden City. Then, there is only one way, which is to build a new temple nearby and buy the land and build it yourself. Having made up his mind, Lin Yu dialed Xuanji's cell phone again. This time it was quiet on the other side, except for Xuanji's gentle cough. Looking at the phone, Lin Yu felt entangled in his heart. He was still too young, eager for quick success, not thinking carefully about the problem, and took too big a step, which was too much. I originally wanted to dig a well, but who knew it would hit the main artery of the earth? You could hear Xuanji trying to calm down on the other end of the phone. After all, the woman from the Culture and Education Bureau just spoke very hard. You should be grateful to the country's policies for being able to live here, and don't be shameless. You have rented a house for several years, and this house becomes yours? Is your old face so big? Where do you live and what does it have to do with us? Is Xuanzai your legal name? Have you registered a trademark or applied for a patent? You can use this name, but others can't? If you cooperate honestly with the Bureau in renovating this temple, you can still become a monk here. But Abbot and Abbot, don't even think about it. Moreover, the wing room where your three sons live must be given up, and we will develop it into guest rooms. It is necessary to build this place into a leisure CBD integrating B&B, tourism and Buddhism. It was this sentence that made Xianqi lose his bearings. The monk also had a bottom line, and Xianqi's bottom line was his three brothers and sisters. Master, I'm sorry, I didn't expect the matter to be so big. Lin Yu said. I will go back in a few days and take you to the hospital. Xuanji sighed and said, This is an old man, why are you spending this money? Do you have enough money? I will send you some more. It's not your fault, it's because I was too impatient. You are all older and have more places to spend your money. Xuanji didn't know yet that Lin Yu had heard what the Bureau of Culture and Education and Xuanji had just said, and was still comforting Lin Yu. The master has become famous. Can he start selling goods through live broadcasts next? Tell me, what should we sell? We produce yellow peaches here, so why not just sell yellow peaches? Sure enough, the end of the universe is carrying goods. Even monks are not exempt from vulgarity. Lin Yu couldn't bear to expose Xuanzi's disguise and said, Master, it is Xuanzi who is famous, not you. Xuanji immediately heard the implication of Lin Yu's words, and said worriedly, Did you hear something? Don't worry, I have lived here for 10 or 20 years, and no one can drive me away. I don't need to call you Xuanzai, but this is my home. Even if I fight hard, I still have to help you keep the home. It's impossible for you to lose your home when you come back. Lin Yu nodded and said, It doesn't matter, whoever is willing to do mystical predictions can do it. We will never do this kind of prediction again in the future. It's not cost-effective to charge a little money and it's not enough to see a doctor. I already have an idea. When I graduate, the three of us, brother and sister, will do something great. Lin Yu's optimism infected Xianqi, who smiled and said, Okay, when you grow up, I can travel around, and even go to the West to learn Buddhist scriptures, and I won't have to worry about it anymore.